What up, people? We're
What
here.
is up?
That's right. We're doing it. We're doing the thing, according to my favorite character from Avatar: The Legend of Korra. Hint, hint. Nudge, nudge. Oh
Okay.
yeah.
That's unlike you, Dom.
References.
It's
things.
unlike you to hint.
Chris, we're here on yet another Friday night. I'm back in my basement. Again, I think I've got like a little bit more of a presentable setup. I don't know. Is it just me or does like the camera angle look much better this time than it usually does whenever I do these things that we do in the basement?
It does, and your lighting's a little better too. So what are you doing differently?
I don't know. I think it's because I actually angled the camera up more, and also I'm using a bigger computer because. Fun fact, my old Chromebook, for those of you who want to get in, and because, you know, I love pulling the curtain back and showing the behind-the-scenes process, my old Chromebook that I've been using for the last, year shit the bed, and so I actually had a backup Chromebook, somehow, that I pulled, and I'm using it, and it's much bigger than the old one, so I'm wondering if that makes a difference, because it's on more of an elevated platform.
It looks better. I think it's just a better computer overall. Also, we have our first person in here, Art.
Thank you for
What's up, Art?
Here.
Art's been here a lot lately, man. It does mean a lot.
Cool.
Art, tell us about your day, man. How have things been? This is a different stream, guys. So this is just like us wanting to sort of let you guys into another side of who we are, sort of just hang out. And, you know, Dom and I, we're probably going to hang out tonight anyways, let's be honest. So sometimes we just want to do that with you guys.
We don't really have that many other people that we hang out with. Just saying. I mean, we do, but yeah, no, this is just completely loose, completely free form. We've seen a lot of other people that we both idolize and that we've worked with do this, and we're like, it's long past time that we did something like this. We got a lot of stuff that we want to talk about, but we also just mostly, the point of this is we want to hear from you guys. We want to hear from the chat. You guys have been very active in a lot of our more recent watch-alongs, just our more recent videos. It's been incredibly helpful to us. It's been incredibly awesome that you guys have been there. So the goal is we don't really have a necessary set amount of time that we're going to be here. We're just going to talk like we usually do.
Yeah, exactly. Well said. And, you know, ask us anything, guys. This is a Q&A. We're more than happy to ask questions. But either way, if you guys just want to hang out and listen, that is totally fine with us. Because let's be honest, I think the real reason why Dom and I probably would be doing this either way tonight, whether it would just be alone outside by my hot tub or at Dom's house, you know, not live, in other words, is because, like, it's hard to find people who want to talk about movies all day, every day, all the time. So this YouTube community, it's like, yeah, we have to plan to go live, right? And we have to like work this into our schedule, but it's kind of not that difficult to do when you're amongst like-minded people. I don't know, how do you feel about that, Dom?
Pretty much exactly the same. I mean, you just outlined the entire struggle of my life, which is I talk about literally nothing but movies and TV.
Yeah.
And the biggest struggle that I found is actually getting people who want to listen. And so as a result, it's kind of been the reason why, again, I reiterate, I don't have that many friends. But hey, you stuck around, and here we are. So
yeah, man, I never would have thought when we started this in 2016, was it?
2016 was when we started the Movie Nerd Podcast.
I never would have thought we would be here right now. And I think we should get into that later. I think we should get into our little hiatus as a friend group. I think we should get into our night when you visited me in my apartment in Brooklyn and we walked around a freezing, blistering cold Manhattan.
I went to your. I never actually saw your apartment. To this day, I have no idea what your apartment looks like.
That's so true.
You met me in Manhattan.
Oh my
God! You got
God.
lost in the subway. You tried texting me like a couple times. We like walked around for like 10 minutes straight before I finally saw you. And I'm like, okay, there you are.
Okay, I want to tell everyone about when I got about my subway experience and that day, but real quick, let's turn our attention to the chat here, if that's all right with you, Dom.
Because I see a familiar face in the chat as well.
Yes. AJ, long time no see, man.
The man, most recent fan, most recent collaborator. Like this guy has been like number one. Seriously, subscribe to this guy if you haven't already.
Most recent friend. Let's just be honest. I mean, AJ, you're a very likable guy, man. I'm so stoked that you recently hit a subscriber milestone. I think you deserve it, and I'm looking forward. We have a collaboration coming out with AJ next month, and I won't announce it for him because I think that's the privilege of the person whose channel it's on. But me and AJ literally just wrapped on something crazy awesome this morning, and I cannot wait for all you guys to hear it. Here's a hint: it's one of my favorite TV shows, and I think one of his. What's Art saying? Okay, just doing his usual TV, music, YouTube. Yeah, I get that. Kind of boring last couple hours, so I cracked open a beer. Oh, okay, well, here. Hey, let me ask you this, Art. 2 questions, man. What are you listening to, and what are you pairing it with drink-wise? Because I was just chilling, listening to some Billy Joel. I was working on a studio
Ooh,
that
which
will be
song?
coming soon. A bunch, man. Vienna, and So It
Ooh, good
Goes is a
one.
little bit of a deep
Underrated.
cut.
Both underrated ones. I think my
No, you
favorite.
know, and So It Goes.
Dude, I've listened to like every single Billy Joel song
Okay,
like ever made
you
at
you
least
are
once in my
cultured.
life. I grew up in an Italian house. There's no way I didn't grow up listening to Billy Joel. But you want to know what's funny? I want you to take a guess as to what my favorite Billy Joel song is. Just take a random guess.
I'm gonna say Scenes from an Italian Restaurant because it's so
That
cinematic.
that was
Okay, okay.
until I heard The Stranger being played in Uncut Gems, and I was like, that's new number one. That's new number one.
Oh, right.
Although
Great
here's
use
the
of
thing,
that song.
I don't know if the song that he did for Oliver and Company. Fun fact: Billy Joel actually voiced one of the main characters in that movie. Legendary voiceover performance. The song that he did for that movie,
Didn't know that.
Why Should I Worry? I don't know if that's an original song that he made beforehand or if he made that song for the movie. But whatever the case, I also love that song too.
I'm honestly not familiar with that song, and Billy Joel's one of my favorite musicians, so I gotta
I
check
would
that one
recommend
out.
that song. I think
Are
you'd
you a
like
fan of Billy Joel's?
Yeah.
Okay, you know a
Yes.
lot. I know you know a lot because his music's
Yeah.
used in a lot of movies and stuff. I just didn't know how you felt about him.
No, it's funny because for the longest time, for me, I was a guy, okay, one of those nights I miss going out to, yeah, I'm with you.
I never
am
liked
with
going
you
out to
there.
the bars and clubs. Did you, Dom?
You have to be with the right people and you have to be with the right crowd. I'm not gonna lie. It's a very different social experience that I have here at home versus when I was up at school. When I was up at school, I didn't even go out to the bars really when I was up at school. I was mostly just at parties. And you really have to be with the right people. That's the thing. Like, I know my last big bar experience that I had was I went out to a local, very popular local spot here in Poughkeepsie, New York. It was just expecting to like have a drink and then go home. Wasn't expecting to really run into anyone. I ended up running into a lot of people that I knew. A few people that I enjoyed seeing, that I enjoyed talking to. And then as I ran into more people throughout the night, it just became one of those uncomfortable experiences where I'm like, ugh, why am I here?
Dude, I never liked doing that because it was always so expensive, and I mean, I like pop music. I made pop music for a long time, but it was always so loud, and it was always just so hectic, and there was always such like a pressure to socialize in a way that I'm just not comfortable with. I'm more of like, and you know this, Dom, having people over, let's just sit around a table, roll some dice, play some card games, play some board games, maybe even play D&D as of recently.
Yes.
And so, but hey, to each his own. I do agree with the sentiment of missing going out and doing stuff with people, though. That I can agree with.
Yeah, I will say though, like it's certain other luck. Happy to have you here.
Good morning, Luke.
Once
But
again,
also good evening, actually.
good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
I don't mean to keep cutting you off, Dom. We just have the chats flying, so I want to get to them as we speak.
No, they're going through. Yeah, but my whole thing with bars is that it definitely depends on the bar. Like there's been a couple of places where I've been to that are like cool, casual sit down places that aren't like rowdy. Like Mahoney's, that's like one of those beats where I'm like I don't want to touch it. But like a couple of places. What's the last place that you played in Pleasant Valley that I can never remember the name of?
Oh, the public house?
Yeah, the public house. I didn't mind
That's
that.
got a cool vibe.
That was actually pretty cool. Like those types of places I like.
Mm-hmm.
Like
the bartender thought you were hitting on her, but that was a cool
that
spot.
explains a lot. I promise I wasn't. I really was.
I know you weren't.
I was literally just asking her questions like about like what she would think of like a live podcast in a place like this, and she was like, "Ew,
yeah,
go away, gross male."
Because eventually we want to do live podcasts with the people in our local area. We'll live stream it because we 100% this internet community. I mean, like Dom and I said, like you guys are our friends. Like we're gonna hang out here either way tonight. But we hope some people in our local area would listen too. But with Corona, we haven't been able to venture out and explore that. But
I would pay so much money to be able to like Skype in one of our YouTube internet guests while we're live streaming in front of a bar of like full of people and like make them like an instant celebrity. I would love that,
dude. Yeah, they'd catch a local area for sure, man. It'd be easy. So you're listening to random pop music and having a Corona extra. Okay, so are you not like the biggest music guy, or are you just like you don't really feel like you're just letting the radio play whatever it's playing for you right now? I'm curious. Luke definitely woke up for this, not the NBA playoffs.
Loving Luke's reactions.
Luke, I appreciate.
Like
hey man,
reacting.
What's going on in the playoffs? I used to be a basketball guy not too long ago, but I kind of gave up on it. Who's even in it right now? I'd be curious to know. For the longest time is my favorite Billy Joel song. That is a great Billy Joel song.
Really good one.
That whole record's dope, man.
The River of Dreams, I like.
Damn, you know some deep cuts.
What's the other one that I learned to play? Oh my God, She's Always a Woman.
Oh, that one's beautiful.
That one. Oh my God, what's the one that he did with Ray Charles? What's that one? Baby Grand. Baby Grand.
Yeah,
That show.
yeah,
Love
yeah,
that
yeah,
one.
yeah, yeah.
Love
Late
that
at
one.
night. I love that song,
That
man.
one's really
Oh,
good. It's
so
just
beautiful.
so different.
Yes.
Crap. What was the other one that I was doing?
You know Billy Joel.
Dude, I know Billy Joel. I've
I
said
can't
this.
believe I
know
didn't know
Billy
this.
Joel. 2 books, 2 piano books about that thick I have in my house.
You got to play me. I need to hear you play sometime, man.
I used to be really good. Now,
Okay. I feel like you always.
I don't practice. That's the problem. I don't practice, and I can't play based on I have to have. I'm one of those people. I have to have a sheet of music in front of me. I cannot play from memory alone. Can't do it.
That's fine. That's like half the population of musicians.
Yeah, but
So
all the cool ones I see that make it can clearly not do that. So
I think it's a different mentality. It's there's a couple different types of musicians, just like there's a couple different types of filmmakers.
yeah, this is true.
Porzingis. Yes, I know Porzingis.
I don't know who that is.
I remember when he was on the Knicks. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe I remember when he was on the Knicks.
I think Luck wants to list off all the matchups.
Boston Philly game's kind of close. That's cool. Means nothing to me because I don't really know who's still on those teams. Also, Tenet preview during Mavericks Clippers. Oh, okay.
That brings up one of the big topics.
That's
I
pretty
wanted
cool.
to get into tonight.
Let's get into it, man.
Yeah, so big thing, obviously, people, for those who have been keeping track of the news, obviously, next phase of reopenings has been coming down this week. Monday. It's coming Monday. Gyms and bowling alleys are reopening, and if all goes according to plan, a week from today, August 28th, supposedly theaters. Who the hell knows about New York? Because Cuomo basically just said, yeah, screw movie theaters. Nobody cares about those anyways anymore. People still go to theaters. And but supposedly a week from today, Friday, the 28th, theaters will be opening. And supposedly, if they do, people, again, fingers crossed, because we've been waiting 2 years for this stupid movie. New Mutants will actually be opening next weekend in theaters. And so that brings up a big question, which is, if theaters do open, will y'all be going out and risking life to go and see a new movie in theaters, or will you be staying home and watching the pirated copy like the rest of us?
I'm not going.
I know you're
I think
not.
I've made that abundantly
you
clear.
have made that very abundantly clear to me.
I can't risk it. I don't want to get too specific into my living situation, but there's a few at-risk people in my house, so I honestly can't risk it. And as much as it's going to suck, man, I really wanted to see Tenet on the big screen. And you know what? I kind of felt like this was going to be like not as good of a 2019 in regards to like a year of movies, but I really felt like it could have stayed at least on pace, and the whole Corona thing just came and messed it up.
We had a lot of stuff that we were looking forward to before Corona came and shut everything down. Like, I was looking forward to watching King of Staten Island in theaters. Obviously, the big ones were going to be Tenet and No Time to Die for me as far as like big movies I was looking forward to. I know this is like really hit or miss or like under the radar for a lot of people, but like I was really looking forward to Dune. Supposedly that's still coming out at Christmas time. Like, there were a lot of movies that were coming out in theaters this year that just like went direct to digital. I'm like, I'm not complaining, but if anything, like I said, just the big thing was that, oh, wow, if anything, these movies are like now without the presence of theaters are just seeing extra resurgence as a result of this. Like look at how much press King of Staten Island got. Defy Bloods opening up in the summer was arguably the best thing that could have happened to that movie, because if that movie came out in October, it would have flown completely under the radar, and it would have gotten like no Oscar nominations outside of Delroy Lindo, which was like locked up from the minute people started hearing about that movie. But now that movie actually does stand a solid chance, Yeah. So it's just interesting to see what Corona has done to the state of movies.
I kind of feel like Chris Hemsworth, his movie Extraction, kind of benefited from the Corona.
Absolutely.
Because I feel like that would have been one that would have just sort of been here today, gone tomorrow. But given the state of what was going on at that time, not getting too much new content, that one kind of hit at the right moment. And I think Lovebirds as well would have not, I mean, it had a very small moment, let's be honest, but it still had a moment. And I think with the year we were supposed to have, because I remember when it wouldn't have had a moment at all. And because I remember we were having our pre-production meetings like we always do, we plan in advance because, failure to plan is planning to fail, in my opinion. And so we always do that, Dom and I. And I remember I was like, dude, like, I'm not upset at all, but like the name of the show is Talkin TV. Like, where are we going to fit the TV into this year?
Yeah, we were having a big problem with that because there were just as many TV shows that we were looking forward to in addition to film. And I guess if anything, like I said, it's so funny because like the Corona shut everything down, but I can't believe I got to be the person to say this. Corona might have been the best thing to happen to us, because I'll tell you this much.
To us,
without
yeah.
Corona, we probably wouldn't be on YouTube right now. We probably wouldn't be churning out as much content as we are now. I definitely don't think we'd be as efficient as we are right now. You know, we'd kind of just still be basing, we'd still be audio exclusive only, and we'd still be kind of basing just like everything that we've done around like whatever the new big movie of the week is. And we'd kind of be a slave to that. And yeah, you guys wouldn't get to see our pretty faces in person. We wouldn't have gotten to meet all the awesome people that we've met on YouTube since we joined.
I could not agree more. And like, you know, obviously everyone has like you're a little bit different before you start rolling the cameras and stuff. So I hope you guys understand right now that what I'm about to say, I would have said if Dom had just brought this up and we were just hanging out. Cause like that was I loved what you just said there. That was great. You know, it's definitely not ideal for the world. I feel terrible. I know a lot of people have gotten sick and you know, worse. We don't have to get into all that. So it sucks to say that, but also I feel like we've made some really great friendships that I just can't help be thankful for. And it's such a weird feeling because it's like I hate having something to like, I just hate when there's like so much bad stuff going on and like being the guy who like found positivity in it, but that's also who I am, you know? And we found like, you know, Joe, Elliot, David, Brando, Luke, so many people that like, I don't know, like if we all lived in the same state, same county, I think we would be hanging out with these people all the time.
Me too.
And this would not have happened if it wasn't for the quarantine. You know what I mean? We would have never been on YouTube. We would have never have. I wouldn't have been building a studio because we wouldn't have been into video podcasting, and so there wouldn't have been a need for this. You know what I mean?
A lot of stuff has been accomplished because
It's
of
crazy.
quarantine. And again, like the everyone was saying is like, you know, the whole thing that every fucking like politician and radio personality was saying is like, use the extra time to like do the things that you never were able to do before, and we did that. Like, to the nth degree and more, I would like to think. So, yeah. So, Chris, if you want to get into, I have a couple more topics that.
Yeah, let's go to the chat real quick, and then
Yep.
let's hit some topics. And I mean, I
Absolutely.
know, let's just harp on this. I mean, you guys don't really have to ask us questions. I'm actually kind of really enjoying what's happening right now. It isn't quite a Q&A, but either way, I'm enjoying it. It's a little more like talk showy, but like I listen to podcasts all day, every day, so I'm okay with this. I actually really like this, and it feels good to me at least.
Hopefully, we can actually be a talk show that's actually, you know, entertaining.
Yeah, I mean, I'm having a good time. I think
Me
that's
too.
the number one thing.
Yeah.
But again,
I've even got the shirt that literally says "It means no worries."
it means no worries. I like that. That should be in the.
Pretty good.
We should put that in the title.
By the way, by the way, Chris, I forgot to say this is the next shirt from the Target haul.
I know. I love that shirt. I actually probably, if I had gone there and I had known they had awesome, that would have been one I would have copped because I know I don't
Dude,
speak.
I saw the last time I went there a couple days ago. I saw a couple of Office shirts. I think
Really?
I saw a Nintendo 64 shirt.
Have they updated their stock?
Yeah, they have. They brought in a couple new ones too. I don't remember all of them off the top of my head, but I saw a
Damn,
French
all right.
shirt.
Okay.
Dude, I'm telling you, they have a whole section now.
A
right
French
where the men's
shirt
clothing
now.
section. Dude, I'm telling you, you gotta get there when you get a chance.
I gotta get there.
Yeah.
So, guys, I mean, like I said, I'm actually really enjoying these tangents and just hanging out because it's always a topic and it's always like hyper focused on this thing, even though we really don't follow that. But this is truly what usually happens, anyways. But again, to sort of hit the thumbnail and the title, if we want to follow YouTube etiquette, right? Ask us anything. Now's your chance. But before we get into the other topic, Dom, I do kind of want to hit some of the comments because we have people here, and you know, the people gotta be their voices gotta be heard, and it's our job. The people have spoken. So going back to the music conversation, but that's not our fault. That's our fault. We were kind of just rambling. He put on some albums. He's feeling unshuffled. That's what I figured. I figured it was like a shuffle thing. Really random, like Madonna and Carly Rae Jepsen. Hey man, I jam me some Call Me Maybe. That's the only Carly Rae song I know. I'm not gonna front, but I love Madonna. Love Madonna, dude. I
like
feel
Madonna
that.
as a singer, not as an actress. Like, not at all.
Oh,
as an
okay.
actress. Oh my God.
What has she been in? I don't know.
2 movies that I've seen her in, and they're both terrible. Well, she's terrible in them, but they're really both bad. Dick Tracy and Swept Away. Actually, that's not true. I liked her in A League of Their Own, and that's the only thing I've ever liked her in. She is, yeah. Whenever I see her name on a movie, I'm like, skip. But, yeah,
Okay.
the Carly, question, because Chris, you're the musician here. Would you consider Carly Rae Jepsen a one-hit wonder?
Yeah. but she still is young, and she still like as of now she's only had one hit.
Right.
She has a huge fan base though. I mean, she has other songs that have plays on Spotify. If you look, she at radio, right? That's the term, at radio. When your song goes to radio, at radio,
Right.
she's a one hit wonder. For now, she's still young though.
Yeah,
But
I'm only asking because that's literally the only thing I've ever heard from her.
me too. But she has like a diehard fan base, and she still actively tours when that happens. You know, all quarantine aside, and she still releases records, and she still profits on them. So she's like, some people only get that one big hit. Like, look at like a Ted Nugent kind of guy, right? He had like
Rebecca
Stranglehold.
Black.
Who?
Rebecca Black.
But that's the opposite. Like Rebecca Black, I don't I mean, look, I'm no expert on these like random pop stars, but I know for a fact Carly Rae still tours and sells out big rooms on her own. Not like theaters, but like 2,000
Okay.
cap, 4,000 cap rooms.
Okay.
But I don't know if Rebecca Black is like after her hit
Did
is making a lot
Rebecca
of
Black
money.
ever tour
you know?
the first time, or was that just like a YouTube thing that blew up?
Yeah, I think it was like the early days of like music videos on YouTube and just viral content in general being a thing, and it was like so simple but honestly pretty damn catchy. Like I remember being like, "Yo, like I hate that I like this, but I like this."
Dude,
You know?
I was in 8th grade when that song came out, and my social studies teacher at the time played that song literally every Friday to the point where I'm like, why
Wow.
is this popular? But the one saving grace that we got is that one of my favorite Spill.com reviews, because I will never ever stop plugging them because they're probably the greatest thing that has ever happened to YouTube movie reviews.
Yeah.
Is Corey and co-host's reaction to that song. It is, Chris, if you get a chance, I'm telling you, it is one of the funniest reactions they've ever done. It's amazing.
Can you link me that? I've never
I
seen
will.
it.
It's
All right,
hilarious.
Thank you.
They're just reacting throughout the whole thing to that, and there's one point where they're like, where they're just saying the lyrics, but like as robotic as she is, and it's amazing.
All right. Well, send it to me. I love me some old Spill archives, and I haven't gotten a chance to check out as many as I would like. So
Watch their Step Up 2 review also. That might be the funniest the co-host has ever been.
okay, Luke, I'm not the biggest Travis Scott fan. I have nothing against him. Hip hop is like it's weird. So for me with hip hop, 3 of my top 10 albums of last decade are hip hop albums. In Mac Miller's Swimming, in Kendrick Lamar's To Pimp a Butterfly, and in Kanye West's Yeezus. But I really mostly just listen to the rock side, and I think that's because there's so much, and there is this in rock too. But I think since hip hop's been around such a shorter amount of time than rock, it's a little more saturated right now. It's popular. It's more buzzing. So there's so many copycats. And not that I think Travis Scott is one. I think he's huge for a reason, but he doesn't do it for me. But send it to me when it comes out, Luke. Remind me, and I'll listen to it. As a musician, I give everything an open mind. But that's kind of like Travis Scott to me seems like he's not cut from a different cloth. Like he doesn't have that it factor that to me like a Kanye or a Kendrick Lamar have. So
Luke's talking about the new song that's going to be in Tenet, right? I assume
I
that's
think
what he's talking
so.
about. Yeah,
I'm
that's
pretty
what-
sure
I
because
just
he's
checked.
Luke.
I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, didn't I send you a thing the other day about Travis Scott having a song that's going to be in Tenet?
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
love
You did.
Nolan's-
Okay, that's exactly what
I
we're talking about.
loved Nolan's wording of when he talked about having the Travis Scott song for the movie. He was just like, it just felt like I want to say he used the word it's absolute fire. I don't quote me on that, but I think that he used those exact words. Which just imagining Christopher Nolan using the word fire to describe something is amazing in and of itself. And then the fact that he was like, oh, it was just right for the tone. I wouldn't know a Travis Scott song unless you played it for me. But
Yeah.
I can't imagine that. I'm like, okay, high praise from the man himself. He put Harry Styles in his last movie. So I don't know. Maybe he's just getting a thing
Hey,
from putting
man.
pop stars stuff in his movies.
He's at
Maybe
that
turn
level.
over a new leaf.
He's at that level where he probably
Yeah.
runs in similar circles.
Yeah.
But
Speaking
what's
of
Art
Christopher-
saying?
Yeah. Which speaking
Oh
of
no,
Christopher
yeah, go
Nolan,
ahead.
Speaking of Christopher Nolan, Chris, because you've played this soundtrack a while, and I just rewatched this movie the other night. I wanted to get your take on it because it was a movie that I wasn't necessarily sure how I felt the first time I watched, and so I kind of came to an opinion a little bit too soon. But I rewatched it the other night, and I realized that my opinion is still not fully formed. What are your thoughts on Dunkirk, Christopher Nolan's most recent movie?
Yeah, well, I think the score is better than the film, but I think the film gets a lot more. It's a lot more divisive than I think it should be. Like, yeah, okay, he stepped aside from the sort of
Sci-fi.
sci-fi Yeah, exactly. But I think he did it. Like, it wasn't. I don't think it's gonna go down as like like a Black Hawk Down or a Saving Private Ryan, but it's certainly like also not like a Hacksaw Ridge either, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I like Hacksaw Ridge. I like Andrew Garfield, but I gotta call him like I see him. You know
Yeah.
what I'm
No,
saying?
I don't
I
blame you. That
understand the
movie.
quality.
Yeah, that's a movie that like I liked, but I also like thinking back, I was like, oh god, like what was that movie? Like that movie was so one movie up until a certain point, and then at a certain point, that movie just becomes something completely different. Like, I
Yeah.
almost feel like you're watching two different movies. I think it's so funny because this is what I wrote about Dunkirk in my Letterboxd review. If you can bear with me for a second.
Sure. While you pull it up. Oh, is it pulled up, or can I read a chat real quick?
Yeah, you can go
Cool.
back
Yeah.
to the chat.
So Art's been saying he loves. He has to admit he loves the extreme amount of daily, nightly live streams that YouTubers are hashing out since COVID hit.
Yep.
Yeah, man.
Well,
There's
they
a
got nothing
bubble.
else to do.
There's a bubble, and I think that's why our channel in the past week got like 25 subscribers. Which thank you guys. That's awesome. Art, I know you kind of came around to the channel not too long ago yourself, and dude, I mean, what are we gonna do? Like, we can't go out right now to a bar. You know, that's not my thing.
Not
But
that I
Dom,
want to.
yeah, you know, Dom said he doesn't mind that sometimes. And even if he had those plans come up, they're just not happening right now, dude. COVID, back to that part of the conversation. And I guess let's wrap up this Madonna part before, and then we'll hear your letterbox review, Dom.
Getting into Madonna, but
So Art says we gotta watch her 80s movie, Desperately Seeking Susan. And who's that girl?
I've not heard of that one.
I don't know, Dom. Do I have, like, you know, no disrespect, Art?
I think they have to. I feel like that's 50-50, you know?
Based
off
what you just said about her acting?
I don't have a dog in this fight, but let's put it this way. Dick Tracy and Swept Away to me were kind of already like lost causes before she joined, so I'm not necessarily blaming her. I'm just saying I didn't like her in either of those movies. So this is what I thought about Dunkirk. So I gave it 4 stars, but I said specifically, this is probably Nolan's most fascinating movie to date. It's his shortest movie since The Prestige. It's his most visually daring. It's easily trying to say the most out of any of his films, and yet I still feel coming away feeling almost nothing. He pitch perfectly recreates this scenario to the point where it almost doesn't feel like you're watching a movie. It's almost documentary-like in that aspect, which is something that I actually found that a lot of 2017 films had in common. It was really strange that year. The storytelling is so visual that the majority of the characters feel like voyeurs for us, and it certainly creates tension in ways that I haven't seen before. And it's a movie made for the big screen, a truly visual experience. And I think 2 things hold it back from being great. I still think the main characters need a bit more development, just something for us to get to know them. I'm not saying much, just literally anything. And the nonlinear storytelling to me is completely unnecessary. I know it. He loves doing it in every one of his movies.
Totally.
It set his movies apart. He did it right from the get-go because I watched his first movie the other night, Following, which is actually a really, really cool little movie. It's really nice to see like Nolan, like before all the celebrity and the stardom got attached to him.
Mm-hmm.
But for this movie, at least, like, when it's hopping back and forth within the different timelines and you're seeing stuff play out differently from, like, different points of view than you did before, I'm like, okay, I get it. But it's just making things unnecessarily confusing. You know? I get what he was going for. How, like the whole thing that he was trying to say with that is that time really doesn't matter when it comes to harrowing experiences like this. Because the whole thing is that one thing is supposed to be an hour, one thing is supposed to be a day, one thing is supposed to be a week. But, like, you don't really feel the difference because it's war. And I get that. But still, it like those are the parts that didn't necessarily work for me. So like that's kind of the conflict that I'm having right now, because pretty much every other Nolan movie that I've seen, I've come to a definitive stance on, except for that one.
I agree with a lot of what you just said. You know, look, I watched Dunkirk like once, and it was in like when it came out.
Yeah,
so it's been a while. The score has really gripped me.
Yeah,
it's like I said, it's not quite a Hacksaw Ridge. I also don't think it's going to go down in like the top war films of this decade, but I also really can't name that many great war films of this decade so far, last decade rather. So, you know, I think it kind of is by default one of the better ones, but I think this was a weak decade overall for the war films, because I grew up on films like Hamburger Hill, and I grew up on films like, you know, Black Hawk Down, which I cannot wait. We got something coming up on our channel for that, which is going to be cool.
Year, all I'm going to say is that next year we got a lot of 20-year anniversaries that we're going to be covering.
Do.
Like, a lot.
So Dom, we're finally starting to get some questions, and I'm sorry to cut you off. My bad. I just, while they're here, I want to hit them because, you know, people come and go, and everyone's lives busy lives, so I don't want to, you know, Real quick, just to get to Art to go in chronological order, Tenet is overrated in his opinion. He finally watched the trailer after hearing people rant and rave about it. I put the rave in because I have for months, and honestly, he can't even remember what it was about. Yeah, but that's kind of the point of the trailer.
Yeah,
so,
the trailer is very ambiguous by nature. So
Art, I think you got to see it to watch it. And if you know what's been going on our channel lately, I'm not the biggest Nolan guy by default. He, to me, as much as I see the art form in movies like Inception and Dunkirk and I just like, for me, the Dark Knight trilogy is really like what I would say I love by him, but I can't say I love anything else by him, especially not Interstellar. But so give it a chance, Art, because I'm giving it a chance, and I'm saying that's what I'm trying to say.
It's so funny because I would consider myself the biggest Nolan fan for the longest time. He was in my top 5. He's in my top 5 favorite filmmakers. Still is in my top 5 filmmakers because he does things to me that no other filmmaker does, which is a big part of that. But like I said, this past week, I just did a binge of his movies, and I started to realize that he's got one crucial piece that is missing from all of his other movies. And without spoiling a little project that I've got coming out for next week, Certain Vids, what's up, dude?
What's up, Vids? Thank you for hanging out, buddy.
The one thing that I'll say is that if Nolan does not have a movie with a Nolan protagonist at the center, the movie to me is not the best. And it's very strange. With the exception of one. To me, there's only one movie that I've seen of his that does not have a typical Nolan character in it. But the reason why is because it's the only movie that he didn't write the script for.
Memento?
And that's Insomnia, which is his 2002 movie they did with Al Pacino and Robin Williams. By the way, if you want to see one of Robin Williams' best performances that nobody talks about, watch that movie. It's basically like his version of Seven. It's incredible. But yeah, like, think about it. Every single movie that we love by Nolan has a Nolan protagonist, and every one of his movies that doesn't have a typical Nolan protagonist, your Interstellars, your Dunkirks, those are not necessarily the most liked of his. So I find that really, really interesting. It's something that I've noticed throughout, because I always loved the Batman movies, right? The Dark Knight Batman movies. But as I watch more of his movies, I started to notice that his characterization of Batman, even though to me he still nailed it the best out of anybody who's ever done a live-action version of Batman. We'll see what Matt Reeves does with Robert Pattinson. To me, that has like the most that to me has the biggest chance of actually standing up to Bale so far of all the live-action Batmans. But
yeah,
I started to notice, I'm like, wait, why am I seeing elements of Christian Bale's Batman in Guy Pearce's character in Memento, or Christian Bale and Hugh Jackman's characters in The Prestige, or even elements in DiCaprio and Inception? I'm like, why is it that all these guys seem like the exact same character? Like, it's really funny how that works. And even in some elements for that I saw from Robert Pattinson coming up for the Tenet trailer.
Yeah, well, you know what? Time will tell on that, and I'm excited.
I see what you did there.
I think, hey man, I don't want you to say too much, because we have a lot coming down the pipeline, and so let's get to some of these questions now. Certain Vids, he doesn't know this, because Certain Vids is one of the newer people in our crew, and like we were saying earlier, we would not have met him if it wasn't for this quarantine. Yeah. So it all comes full circle on this last stream, doesn't it, Dom? We're nailing these segues.
Oh yeah.
But favorite film of all time, Dom. You want me to go first? You want to go first?
Because I'm between two for you, but I want to hear you say it rather than be that asshole that says, "Oh, I think I know it," and then I'm totally.
You know what? You say it. You say what you think the two are.
Don't put me in that position.
All right. Well, then you gotta tell me.
Just say it.
I want to know what.
To me, it's between Star Wars and Goodfellas. Those are the two movies that you always talk about as being between your two.
It's Goodfellas. It's Goodfellas.
It is? Okay. I was between, because I didn't want to say Goodfellas and have you say Star Wars, and it'd be like, damn it. But
yeah, Star Wars is my favorite trilogy, of course.
Okay.
The original. But
the only
Goodfellas, man,
Star Wars movies,
because Goodfellas just, I think, brings the best out of all those actors that I love. It's just, they all have great performances outside of those films, but the casting, the vibe, the way that they play those gangsters, man, I love it so much. Especially Joe Pesci in that film. He makes it for me funny. You think I'm funny? Oh, I love it. I love it so much. Yeah. It's just such a fun ride, man. What about you, Dom?
Well, mine is Godfather. I've talked about that numerous times. That's the greatest movie I've ever seen. 1 and 2 to me are the two greatest films that I've ever seen made. Like, I don't think anything that I will ever see will ever top those two movies. Dark Knight and Pulp Fiction and Saving Private Ryan all come close. But yeah, no, those two to me are like, if you would have asked me, and I mean this with every fiber of my being, the absolute pinnacle of what I think cinema is, it is those first two Godfather movies. No question.
They're incredible.
Yeah,
they are absolutely incredible.
They're two of the greatest movies ever made. And also, you said that Goodfellas brings out the best. Like, you clearly have not seen De Niro's performance in Part 2, because that to me is the best that I've ever seen De Niro be. Is in Part 2 of Godfather.
Yeah, but I guess that's like a different size of the role
That's
as
a
well.
subjective thing.
So,
more so.
But totally, I mean, De Niro. I mean, that was in his heyday, anyways.
Yeah.
Godfather a little earlier, obviously,
70s.
but you know,
he had that streak in the 70s of Mean Streets, Godfather 2, and then Taxi Driver, and he was like, yeah, and then Deer Hunter after that, which is like, oh man, that's one of the best streaks any actor has ever had.
Halloween would be like top 50 for me. The first one's really
Halloween's
good.
Not even close. I think that's one of the most overrated movies of all time.
Damn, we'll save it for October.
Yeah,
guys, we're doing a big Halloween event October on our channel.
Can we announce that on this stream? Like later on, but can we announce that on this stream?
Nah, I wanna solidify more
right.
details, but just know that every week there will be something, and it's almost festival-esque, but it's more of like a Warped Tour thing where the festival travels from place to place, and that's all I'll say about it. It's gonna be really cool. Elliot, the man, the myth, the legend, thanks for being here yet again. You really you don't always have to show up and show support, but you do.
But he does
and
anyways. And
that goes the extra mile, my friend. So he loves the super chill Dom couch vibes. Who doesn't?
I'm chilling. It's a Friday night, and what better way to just be chilling on my couch, having some good times with some good people.
What is that you got there, Dom? While we're speaking about the super chill couch vibes, no, your beverage. What's your beverage of choice tonight?
I went back. I was gonna do Belgian Blue Moon, but it was a little bit heavy, so I decided to go with Miller High Life, which is one of my usual go-tos. Also because it's one of the only beers that has a twist-off cap, which is extremely useful.
It is so useful. Yeah, so since I just went first last time, and we do have a few questions coming in, thank you guys for joining. The chat is starting to come alive.
Finally,
and so,
here we go.
And so with it, my expectations of what I was expecting tonight, you guys are really living up to the standards I had set mentally for this. Where do you see the channel in 2 to 3 years, Dom? That's a great question.
2 to 3 years. So I've talked about this actually with you a lot, and I think this is the first time that I'm ever going to say this on a podcast. Honestly, I want us, in 2 to 3 years, I see with the amount of work that we're putting in, with the amount of connections that we're making, I could very easily see us being in like, not one of the most talked about YouTube channels, like to like the level like Collider or Double Toasted. That's like a special kind of a level that I would say will reach like, if we're lucky, at the end of 10 years. But I'd say like to the level like somebody that is like one of the more talked about ones in the community. And with the amount of connections and the amount of people that we're meeting on a daily basis, I could very easily see us getting there. You know, where we're putting out content easily once a day. We're like doing all sorts of different innovative stuff. Like all the stuff that we've got planned for down the pipeline are like actively doing well, and that we're monetized. And honestly, I'm not gonna lie, 2 to 3 years, I could very easily see us, and I'll be the first person to say this, like be monetized and start to be making money from this.
I think that's how long it would take. I think that's how long it will take, rather, because I'm kind of with you. That's not why we do it, obviously. I don't even think we need to say it because we say it so much. That's not
openly says that they're getting into this in order to try and make money will not succeed at it.
But like, would you, if there came a point in time where you know, because we're both talking about going back to school. I've committed. My school starts on Monday. I'm going to business school to learn how to run a business, aka small business, aka this YouTube channel, hopefully. But like, would you, if we were ever at the point where it's like a calculated risk to like quit your day job and like go full time on YouTube for 6 months and then see if we can like that 6 month period that everyone does, then turn it in? Like, would you take that risk if 2 to 3 years?
That's not even a question for me. 100%.
Yeah, same.
100% I would.
Yeah, because this is like, dude, this, I feel alive right now. Like, not saying I don't during the rest of the day, but like right now is like I truly feel happy.
I'll be honest, you don't feel alive when you're at your day job. I know for a fact I don't. I'm just bored, waiting past the hours to be like, okay, yes, let's get to the thing.
I want to know from the chat too. What is that day job that's just the grind that you have that keeps you grounded on your goals? Because that's what my job does. So as much as I really get frustrated by it, and as much as I hate dodging bees and all the nonsense that comes with it, like every time I'm there, every golf cart I wash, I'm like, I'm doing this to one day like do what Dom just spoke about, you know?
I just started at the Gap yesterday, and it's going to be miserable because that's going to be the earliest that I've had to wake up in years, but every clothing item that I get that I'm scanning and putting on that conveyor belt, I'm like, it's all for the podcast. It's all for the podcast. That's what I got.
But like for real though, right? Like it's corny to say, but like for real.
That's like literally no joke. Like when my dad has asked me, like, why do you do this? My literal answer is I need a reason to get out of bed in the morning. That is literally what my answer for him, and I mean that with every fiber of my being.
Amen, my friend. Amen. And we have so much planned on this channel.
Yeah, we do.
Next question, I guess. Damn, Dom, this is cool.
Ooh, the DC fandom. I actually kind of want to start this because
Sure, go for
there
it,
are
man.
three things that I'm more interested in. And I gotta say too, kudos to DC for if because that's the other thing too is the a couple things that have popped up just today in the last couple days with them. Kudos to them for now that Marvel is finally out of the picture, they can finally actually step up and take the spotlight that they tried to get and failed miserably at 4 years ago. Which is, but real quick, to actually answer the question, the three that I'm most looking forward to are the Snyder Cut panel, just to finally get some more insight into what that beast is going to be, the Suicide Squad panel, and the Batman panel, because those are the three DC movies that I'm easily looking forward to the most.
Yeah, dude, I am Robert Pattinson. Sign me up, man.
Dude,
He's been on such a tear lately.
Matt Reeves directing a Batman movie, I was already on board with. And it's funny because every time we get one of these big castings, because the problem to me with those is that the character is always bigger than the actor. You're like, at that point, you don't really care what actor they get. You just want to make sure that they're going to do right by the character. And when they announced Robert Pattinson, like every time they announced a new guy, it was the same thing with Ben Affleck. I always do a double take, and I'm like, will they work as that guy? But Pattinson's, let me tell you something. Pattinson's been on such a winning streak lately. I'm like, you know what? Under Matt Reeves' direction, let's go. Let's go. And then and the rest of the cast, too, around him. Like, Andy Serkis as Alfred, Colin Farrell as the Penguin, Paul Dano as the Riddler, Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman. Like, goddamn, dude, give me this movie now.
Yeah, no, I agree. We're gonna be live tomorrow.
Carmine Falcone, I think.
Yeah, we got asked to be a part of Geekly Gods channel. Tomorrow we're gonna be on a live stream for the 5:45 Snyder section of the panel, and I'm excited just to because you guys have heard us speak about this ad nauseum at this point. I'm just interested by it. I can't say I'm excited for the Snyder Cut. So basic, I haven't really seen your face before. Thank you for being here, my friend. So for the new guys in the chat right now, I can't say I'm excited for the Snyder Cut, but I want to know what's going to happen with it because I feel like it's going to be, I think it's going to set a precedent, an industry precedent. And that's why I am excited for that. That's why I wanted to be on that section of the panel. So again, check out Geekly Gods on YouTube. We'll be over there tomorrow. Dom and I hanging out for the hour of the Snyder Cut.
I'm looking forward to it. I am very, very much looking forward to that. Is the minute that I heard it's so funny because for the longest time, I always was every tweet, everything that I saw, release the Snyder Cut. It got so annoying to me to the point where it's like, oh my God, could they just release this stupid thing just so we can shut up all these DC fanboys? Because Jesus Christ. Of all of the annoying internet trolls that I've had to deal with, the internet stupidity that I've had to deal with in the scene for the last couple of years, these DC fanboys, these Snyder defenders have been easily some of the worst. The ones that were saying that Marvel sucked just because they weren't the Snyder movies, Not for the reason that you don't like them, Chris, which are legitimate, valid reasons, but just for the simple fact that they weren't the Snyder DC movies. It's like, oh my God, shut up. But then and it got to the point where I was like, okay, are they it actually started to make me question whether they were going to release it, and it almost got to the point where I'm like, when they announced that they were officially doing it, I'm like, well, of course they are, It's like, what else do they have? What else do they have? Even though they've been on a little bit of an uptick in the last couple of years, their last movie that they did, Joker, even though it's not technically part of the universe, that movie grossed $1 billion. They finally had a giant hit again on their hands. So I was like, you know what? Let's just see it, just to see what it is. And
it's not like we have exactly, and it's not like we have a Snyder bias here on the channel. We watched Watchmen, which I actually, because of that watch along, I have a way bigger appreciation for it now.
Yeah.
So the DC fandom, good question. And to answer your second question, Basic, thank you for asking. We are on Facebook and we are on Instagram. On Facebook, it is Talkin TV Podcast. Talkin spelled TALKIN apostrophe. Right there in the top right corner, you can see the logo. And on Instagram,
just right there with the logo.
At Talkin TV Podcast, and thank you for asking, man. We hope to see you on Instagram. Ron, what's up, Ron? Thanks for being here, homie. Ron's going to be on our channel in September. We're doing a little something for the Emmys. I will say no more, but Ron has signed on for that.
Yeah,
can't wait for that, man. I don't know if you don't quite know Ron yet. You're going to meet him for the first time.
I don't talk with him that much. No, I've only seen him pop up occasionally in these YouTube comments.
Yeah, he was on when Elliot hosted those Infinity War and Endgame watch along to Ron.
Okay.
Ron was a part of the panel one of those nights. Yeah, and so he's just a cool dude. I'm excited to bring him on here. But so yeah, Ron, all is well. Thank you for asking, and he's got a question for us. Hence, it is a Q&A. So
Yeah,
guys, ask us your
so
questions.
Infinity Train, Amphibia, and the Harley Quinn show. I've not heard of Amphibian Train or of Amphibia or Infinity Train, but I
Me
have heard
neither.
nothing but good things about the Harley Quinn show. Like, I don't think I've heard a single person that, like, a single DC fan that has posted like a negative thing about like that. Like that, I've heard that show is great. From what I've heard, is that show is basically the animated Deadpool show that Donald Glover and his brother were gonna do for FX that got scrapped. But like, even from what I've heard, it's like a better version of the Birds of Prey movie. It takes everything I liked about Birds of Prey and puts it up to 11 in like this R-rated Archer-esque comedy. So that's what I've heard. I haven't gotten a chance to watch it yet, but I've heard like the best of the best things about it.
Same. 100% the same. I mean, where do you even watch that? What, DC has their own streaming service now,
It's
don't
the
they?
DC universe, but like I said, they're already just folding it into HBO Max. So I assume that's
Okay.
where you'll be able to watch it in like a year.
I want to watch that. I don't know what the heck Infinity Train or Amphibia
I've
is.
never
though.
heard of any of those shows.
So why don't you enlighten us, man? Because if DC is attached to it, 9 times out of 10, I'm at least curious. I'm at least intrigued, as Dom would know. But I actually just read something interesting today. DC apparently is broke. Like they're
Really?
publishing their comics. Yeah, they're
Really?
they have not been making money. The quarantine hit them hard.
That's really sad to hear, honestly, because
Yeah,
the
I mean
more
they'll still
reason-
obviously do it. It might just switch from the printing press to digital. I don't know how they'd amend it. I mean, they're not. Their comics aren't going anywhere.
Right,
Obviously,
that's what I mean.
but
Like I assumed that they would go digital just like everyone else. It actually kind of shocks me to hear that they haven't gone mostly digital yet.
yeah, I don't know. I'm looking up something right now because I want to get the exact quote on it. But just typing in
Definitely.
DC Comics broke.
Yeah, while you're doing that, I'll just bring up the recent news that I wanted to get your take on after we're done talking about this, which is, what are your thoughts on them bringing in Ben Affleck, supposedly bringing back Ben Affleck for the Flash movie that was somehow finally getting made? I still don't know how. I still think the movie doesn't even have a director attached to it. But, yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, it's I want to see it first. I can't like there's okay. So this goes to what we were talking about. I forget with who, but we were sort of talking about like I think it was during our Star Wars month. For those of you who don't know, during the month of May on our channel, that is Star Wars month with a flood of Star Wars content because that couldn't be any more true to who we are as people.
Star Wars is good to us. That's the one adage that we have on the Talkin TV channel.
Yeah, you just
Wars
got
is good to us.
That's like a production meeting line right there because it's so true. And so we were talking a lot about how we were frustrated with, Kathleen Kennedy dropping just a name of a director like Taika Waititi. And that's all they said about it. Like, give us substance. Give us something there. Okay, cool. Big name, big movie. It's 2020. Like, there's pretty much always a big name in a big movie. I mean, what? Tell us something about it. Get me excited. Like, a name, quite honestly, doesn't get me excited because for as many great Robert De Niro performances I can name, I could also name some pretty terrible ones, aka Dirty Grandpa.
Yeah.
So it's like,
I can name a lot more than Dirty Grandpa.
Yeah, that was just the first thing. But you know what I'm trying to say? Do you understand the sentiment there?
Yes.
It's like, give me something. Cool. Like, I'll see it when it comes out. Obviously, it's a Batman title, but I couldn't care less right now about it.
Yeah. I mean, my whole thought process on it is that it's basically, once again, yet another confirmation of the fact that this is going to be a Flashpoint movie. In what capacity, I don't know, because the problem is that we already have a great Flashpoint movie with that animated movie that they did in 2014, which still, again, to me, I think the biggest missed opportunity for the live-action DC movies is not following in the footsteps of their animated panel, because I don't think I've seen a single movie in their animated panel that has not been awesome. But let me tell you something. Those animated movies get dark, dude. Like, it never ceases to amaze me how dark those freaking movies get. And the Flashpoint movie was, like, the biggest example of that, because the Flashpoint comic is a dark fucking comic. And the movie, they held no punches at all for an animated movie. I was like, whoa, they actually did that.
That movie was great.
They kept going with it. And so I don't know what capacity they're actually going to be following with Flashpoint, because without spoiling anything, people, just read that comic or watch that movie. It, to me, is one of my top 10 favorite just like single issues of a comic that I've ever read. And because the whole big story beforehand was that Michael Keaton was going to be in the movie, and then we had all that drama with Ezra Miller with him sort of strangling the woman in the video, and that whole nonsense.
Everyone's just let slide.
Yeah, but right?
It's like he gets the ultimate hall pass, puts his hand on a woman, gets the ultimate hall pass. Cool.
It's like, okay, whatever. But
Yeah, it annoys me.
yeah, that's a whole different conversation to be
Yeah,
had
yeah. We don't
there.
have to get into it, but it's
But
just so.
yeah, but so they said
Mm,
that Michael Keaton was going to be in there, and now they're saying Ben Affleck is going to be in there. I'm like, okay, so this is just going to be like Flashpoint. And they're basically just going to be setting up the fact that DC is
right.
a multiverse now, which,
Uh,
again, I'm down with that because that's something that's still because to me, again, what is the biggest running joke about DC up to this point? That they are always trying to play catch up with Marvel. And the whole thing
right.
is that we know that Marvel is going to bring the multiverse in later at a later point with Doctor Strange, but now it appears that similar to us, COVID has done DC and Warner Brothers a big favor because Warner, they're going to be able, supposedly, depending on when the Flash comes out, they might be able to get to the multiverse angle before Marvel, which would be a huge thing. Because ever since 2016 with Batman vs. Superman, they have constantly been trying to play catch up with Marvel, and they have been failing miserably with every movie. And this might finally be their chance. They've got a lot better of a name brand recognition. They've got some better movies under their belt. They still got their diehard fan base who have been supporting them all throughout the nonsense of those couple movies that we had to sit through. So yeah,
Yeah, I agree with all that. I think, you know, the multiverse really did the CW shows well.
yeah, it did.
I mean, the crossovers were
Like some of the most
honestly,
things.
that's like such an impressive feat for that type of television network to pull off. First of all, like those were hot button events when they were happening, especially the 4-part ones that they happened twice before. Arrow recently is concluding its run. I don't know if it concluded or not, but the 4 parts are done, obviously, and Legends is gone now. But those are pretty impressive. And I gotta say, I would love for Ben Affleck to be the Batman who is Bruce Wayne's dad, who has guns and shoots people. I think he'd
For him to
kill
be Thomas Wayne.
that. He would kill that
I
role.
would to be down for that. The problem is that they already had a perfect casting that was in Batman vs. Superman that I still want to see happen, which is Jeffrey Dean Morgan, obviously. Like,
that'd be cool too.
yeah, like no question.
So yeah, everyone's talking about HBO Max right now, man.
Yeah,
People
everyone's talking about HBO Max. Well, look,
I haven't been on it. I haven't felt the need to go on it. I mean, I guess I watched Lovecraft Country, but I also just get that I'm like really.
Yeah, that was
off.
already HBO. It's weird. Like I said, it's really weird to be able to differentiate between the HBO stuff and HBO Max. But all I know is that as far as their movies go, if their movies continue to churn out and look like American Pickle, then I am not at all looking forward to the future in their movies. But
yeah, let's catch up on a few of these chats. But Dom, I agree with a lot of what you're saying tonight. I gotta say. So Ron's saying that Amphibia is a Disney Channel show. Okay, Amphibia, cool. All right, I don't. What's it about? I've never heard of this before. If you guys have on demand, you can watch it for free. Okay, I guess I have on demand with, I think Comcast. What we have, I don't know. Infinity Train is a Cartoon Network show that's on HBO Max.
Oh, wait, I think I have heard about this. I don't remember what it's about, but I have heard a couple people talking about it, and they said that it's really good because the problem is Cartoon Network is owned by Warner Brothers, so all their new content is now automatically on HBO Max. So, okay.
Can I get the classics like Dexter and Ed and Eddie? Can I get that on there? Because that'd be a reason to have me download the HBO Max app on my Xbox.
Might be interesting to see. Oh,
I'd like to know that.
Oh, you're asking me. I wasn't sure if you were asking me or the comment section. I don't know.
Both. I mean, either.
I haven't been on HBO Max, so I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
I just get my HBO subscription still through my Amazon account, so until that goes away, I'm still going to use that.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just like there's no need. I'm not changing it up right now. So Ron asks, what Disney animated Pixar film that you haven't seen but might be interested in seeing? So have you not? Is there any you haven't seen, Dom?
I believe to my knowledge, there are only 3 Pixar movies that I have not seen, and that's the 2 Cars sequels and The Good Dinosaur, all of which I have no desire in seeing because this past decade already almost killed my love of Pixar enough as it was.
Okay.
And Disney animated, there's still a fair share of Disney animated movies that I haven't seen, but for the most part, I think I've seen almost all of them. Like my Disney animated, I'm talking theatrically released, not like all the direct-to-digital movies, like none of those sequels. I'm talking like my actual Disney theatrically released original animated movies. I think I've seen like most of them. I think the only ones that I haven't seen are like Tangled and like one of the really obscure ones from like the 70s and 80s, like the Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad. I don't think I've seen that in its entirety. Sword in the Stone, it's been maybe I did watch that. I don't remember, but yeah, I've seen pretty much I've seen almost every Disney animated movie that's been made.
You really have. So I guess I can answer the question better than you. I just kind of wanted you to I figured it'd be easier for you to say what you. Yeah, I figured it'd be easier for you to say what you you have not seen rather than which
Yeah.
you've seen so much. There's only a
Also,
few you're
stuff that
missing.
I've seen is too long to keep track of.
Yeah, for me, there's two movies that are on my bucket list that I don't know. It's like the rainy day. I just haven't found time for them yet. But I hope I can get to either Moana or Coco sooner than later because I've only heard good things. And I feel like that was a cool like 2016, 2017 window. And I missed those. And I remember being enticed by the trailers. I don't know. I didn't get out to the theaters for them. So
Moana was a movie that I really enjoyed, but I think a lot of other people enjoyed that way more than I did. It's not one of my favorites of this past decade of Disney. Well, I mean, it is technically just by default of where it is in the list. And Coco, it's so funny, my relationship with Coco, because I hated that movie the first time I saw it. But as I've gone back and rewatched it, I'm like, okay, it's not terrible. It's one of those movies that just was not for me. I don't know what it was about that movie. I just wasn't the biggest fan of it. Because it's so strange because it felt like a Disney movie, but it was released by Pixar.
right.
And for whatever reason, those two just don't go together for me. It's so funny because the biggest argument that I was making for this past decade was that Disney and Pixar almost seemed to switch places, where Pixar was always the much more intellectually leveled, very kind of more subtly mature, more funny-based content, and Disney was always like the much more lackadaisical kiddie fare. And this past decade, they almost seemed to switch places, where Disney all of a sudden was now doing like the smarter content, and Pixar was doing like the more kid-friendly, lackadaisical content. It's really strange.
I'll give you that. I really will give you that. Just based off of what I've seen, which is obviously a way smaller sample size, but I will give you that.
In the last decade, Pixar put out 2 Cars sequels, Finding Dory, Incredibles 2, Toy Story 4, and The Good Dinosaur. And Disney put out Tangled, Moana, Zootopia, Wreck-It Ralph, Big Hero 6, and Frozen, which I still count Frozen. Frozen is one of my favorite Disney movies that I've ever seen. I still really like that movie, and I stand by the fact that that movie is legitimately a good movie outside of all the ridiculous hype that it got. The first
right,
one,
I do
not
the same thing.
one.
I do the same thing with Zootopia.
Yeah,
I totally
Zootopia
hear you.
is legitimately a great movie, though. That's
phenomenal. I would love to read.
A great movie.
I would love to get my hands on that script.
Yeah,
I want to see how that thing
really
reads,
well
man.
Thought out. It's like to me, like I still go back and I'm like, I literally look at that movie and I'm like, wait, did this movie predict the Me Too movement before the Me Too movement was a thing?
Dude, that movie is so politically ahead of its time. It's ridiculous.
Dude,
I love it.
Line where she's like, "Oh well, a bunny can pet another bunny, but if another animal has a bunny," I was like, "Dude, from Disney of all places."
But also,
what?
Thank you. Why is it taking a kids' cartoon to tell us that? Shouldn't we already know that?
If anything, I love that it's a kids' cartoon that's telling us that.
It's like a slap in the face to the parents that brought their kids there. I love it so much,
dude,
man.
That scene
I love
where
that
Nick
movie.
Confronts Judy after the press conference where she basically comes at, like, all predators are evil. I was like,
man.
Bro, this is next level for Disney.
Next level, dude.
Level.
We got to get our hands on that script, and you know what I'm talking about.
Dude, I'll find it, dude.
So, okay. You might have known this. I didn't know this.
Oh, I didn't know that Andy Muschietti was still on board. I heard that he had been hired. He was because the problem with the Flash movies that there were so many directors that went through that I just kind of lost track of who was still on it. So when I heard Andy Muschietti, I think that director announcement was announced like 2 years ago. I didn't realize he was still attached to it.
Yeah, all I can say is he better do a better job than Birds of Prey. And it.
Yeah.
For that matter.
He didn't direct Birds of Prey. The Birds of Prey writers doing it.
Oh,
that was another first timer, but no, he did both
either way
movies and my thoughts.
I'm not impressed by either of those movies.
Yeah, no.
And I want this.
It Chapter 2 was fun. I'll say that It Chapter 2 was fun, and I liked the cast, but other than that, yeah.
I think the new Flash movie, especially since it's gonna be Flashpoint, right? It needs to be good, or DC is done for. So I have not been impressed by his previous work.
I thought that they were going to be done for after Justice League, and they still kept going. I think that phrase "done for" needs a little bit of a remolding as far as how it's used. Specifically from you, I'd like to add. You're a little bit too liberal with the usage of that phrase.
I think that Justice League was it was definitely a pitfall.
Yeah.
But they have to recover now. They're still in recovery mode.
Yes.
Sure, you had Shazam. Sure, you had Aquaman since, but the big team ups, those are still lacking. Yeah. So we'll see.
Like they jump from their Iron Man to their Civil War to their Guardians of the Galaxy to their Avengers, and it was I'm like, what?
with no rhyme or reason, with no through line. And
Chris,
what's your thoughts on Avatar: The Last Airbender and Legend of Korra? Okay, well,
take this first.
Guys, check out our Avatar review. We put together a panel of some of our closest friends, IRL, and sort of talked all things Avatar, because if there's one thing that the few friends we have left in the real world know, they know Avatar. And I love Avatar. Dom got me into it. I thought it was absolutely awesome. And it was such a ride, man. I binged that thing so fast.
That was one of the fastest binges I've ever seen. Like, I was legitimately impressed with how fast you binged that show.
Dude, that show is, we're talking about Zootopia being not just for kids. Avatar has something in it for everyone. Okay,
Thank God
it is
finally discovered the thing that all of us Avatar fans have known for years. That's all.
And before I hand it over to you, I gotta let them know I haven't seen Corey yet. I have a few other things I gotta watch. I gotta get my boys rewatch in. I gotta get my Cobra Kai rewatch in. I gotta refresh my brain for those because upcoming things in the channel.
Yep.
I think those are obvious, so we don't have to no spoiler learning there. We're covering those two things, but Avatar is brilliant. And Dom, thanks for showing it to me, man.
Look, all that I'm going to say about Avatar is the same thing, because I've released 3 videos now on it, one of which I've done with other people, 2 of which I've done on my own, and I'm not at all being subtle or being over the top when I say that Avatar to me is the greatest animated show, American animated show that's ever been made. It is, to me, the greatest animated show that I've ever seen, and it still will, to me, forever hold up as, to me, one of the greatest shows I've ever seen made. Legend of Korra. It's funny because I don't want to spoil too much because, fun fact, this will be the next podcast episode that I will be doing this coming Wednesday. It will be officially on Legend of Korra, which is now up on Netflix. It's funny. I binged the whole show of Legend of Korra before it actually went up on Netflix, so I just thought that was really funny. But the whole thing to me about Legend of Korra is it really sucked because the minute that I heard about Legend of Korra, I'm like, oh, this is, before I even saw a single frame of that show, I'm like, this is going to come under fire before it even gets released, because I'm like, I already know for a fact there's no way in hell this is going to measure up to Avatar, and that's going to be a very big detriment for the show. And I remember watching the first episode back in the day, because I think that show started, because Avatar to me was 4th to 6th grade, I want to say. No, sorry, 3rd to 5th grade was when Avatar came out. And Legend of Korra, the first season started when I was a freshman in high school. And I watched the first episode of that show, and I'm like, okay, this isn't bad. This really isn't that bad. I'm like, because again, even at that point, I knew, I'm like, okay, it's clearly not going to be Avatar. They would be foolish to try and make this exactly like Avatar. That would be the worst thing they could possibly do. And the first thing that they did with the first frame of that show was show, yeah, this is not Avatar. It has been a while, both in the show and in real life since Avatar, and we are doing something completely different. And even though, yes, quality-wise is not at all to the caliber of Avatar, if you could take that for what it is, and then take it as something completely different that is a follow-up to Avatar and is still in the world, because they do acknowledge that within the show itself, I think you can get a lot out of it. And I think the show does add a lot to the mythos of Avatar as well.
Cool. Yeah. It's on my watch list. I will get there. I'm excited to hear your episode.
It's going to be a good one. Dude.
Which I'm not on.
Andrew and I have been talking about it a lot, dude.
Announce it right now, because we have a few other announcements.
We will feature the one, the only... one of our panelists from the Avatar episode, Mr. Andrew Jamai. I think I got the last name right finally.
For the first time.
Will be my co-host, my guest co-host, I will say, on that episode. It's gonna be a blast. We've been talking about it a lot. It's gonna be a good one, I think.
Yeah. Hey man, you can at least tolerate Andrew. That makes one of us, and I'm sure it was a good episode because of that.
The regular podcast with him.
Not by choice.
Oh, okay.
Not by choice. We work well together. You and I are actually friends. Me and Andrew just work well together.
Okay.
And I'm saying that on the record.
All right.
So again, Basics bringing it to American Pickle. All I can say is I haven't seen it. Dom, you want to give a quick one-liner or something?
I'm sorry. I can understand, and I am happy. I am happy for everyone that enjoyed that movie for what it was. Keeping in mind, I did a double back-to-back watch of Tax Collector and American Pickle, and I was like, ugh. Why do I still watch these types of movies? Like, it's bad because it's funny because I've said this so many times before, both on the podcast and in real life, which is that I'm like, I hate when I can predict a movie, exactly the type of movie that a movie is going to be from the trailer, and almost every single joke that's going to be in it. And I always say, I hope I'm wrong. And 9 times out of 10, I am completely proven right. And I hate it when that happens. And American Pickle was just the latest example of that.
You mean like every Seth Rogen thing in the past 4 or 5 years?
No, because I liked Long Shot. I did like Long Shot, which was...
There are exceptions to the rule, I suppose.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah. So Ron is bringing it back to some deep cuts, which I'm very happy to hear. Samurai Jack, I've been meaning to rewatch that because Avatar got me in the mood to revisit my classic my classic shows like that. Powerpuff Girls. Oh my god, I loved me some Powerpuff Girls back in the day. Dexter's Laboratory. They're all on HBO Max. Cool.
All right,
And
good
Ron
to know.
cried twice during Coco. You'll get to know Ron has good taste, so
Yeah.
that makes me want to watch it more.
All right.
That's cool.
I'll be interested to hear your thoughts on the movie, honestly.
It's not gonna happen for a while, but
I imagine.
I will get
when
to
when
it.
it does happen. I will very much want to hear them.
Yeah. Joe Cerulli is in the house. We got to get Joe back on the podcast, man. It's been a while.
Honestly, when you were on our Birds of Prey, that was a legitimately fun episode. I'm really glad that you were on that one. And also your question, we already talked about it. Sorry. I hate to be that guy, but
yeah.
it just means
Sorry,
every
Joe.
time Joe asks a question in the chat, he always misses when we already talked about it.
Dude, the second time
literally
now.
just talked about, yeah.
This is the second time.
Yeah.
And he only shows up for these just hanging out streams.
Yes.
Too. Joe, ask us any other question, man. You know, like, we'll answer it. But sorry, we're not going back, man.
Oh, man.
This isn't Lost. We don't have to go back. Speaking of anime, he's deep in Naruto Shippuden. Okay, where deep are you? Which war are you at?
You got to be more specific with that. There's a lot of episodes of Naruto and
but
Naruto
hey,
Shippuden.
Are you enjoying it? I like Shippuden. I like the original better. Hot take. Only because I just think that the coming of age elements, which I realize now in my older years, is why I really watched Naruto to begin with. Because other than that, it's just your typical hero's journey that any other anime really has. But those characters, the way that they explore, early teenagehood into like adulthood is kind of different than any other of those like ninja, like sort of like there's more substance there to me in the relationships. So they kind of get away from that a little bit and they get to more political real world aspects in Shippuden. I know you don't know any of this, Dom, but I'm just kind of like, since Joe brought it up, might as well jump in on it. So yeah, that's why I like the original Naruto better. It's a little more, and I think I've learned doing this podcast, Dom, that I kind of love coming of age things. I don't know what it is,
it's one of the best genres there are. It's one of the most relatable genres because everyone, besides the fact that it's one of the most telling periods and one of the most like definitive periods in somebody's life that'll like kind of just sets them on the path for the rest of their life. It's kind of the period where it's like, wow, everyone that's like still alive wishes that they were still that age. So there's a reason why coming of age is like one of the most profitable and like one of the most well-liked genres. Specifically, I feel like amongst our age group. And it's funny that you mentioned that because Naruto was actually one of the things that I actually am familiar with. Because fun fact, when I was in 5th grade, I had this one kid who I only knew for that year who was obsessed with Naruto. And he lent me all of his Naruto manga. And I read through a majority of the issues. So for a majority, like, even though I never watched the actual anime, I knew a majority of the storylines that happened. Even though I don't remember all the characters, I remember watching Naruto's first training session with Sasuke and Sakura under Kakashi. Like, I know those guys. And I know a decent amount. Like, so, I know Rock Lee. Yeah. I know what's Rock Lee's teacher. I never remember the guy's name.
Mike Guy.
Yeah, Mike Guy.
Damn, I didn't.
The blind people. What's it called? Jiraiya is the guy that rides the giant frog.
I love Jiraiya, man.
I know that he got with the 9-tailed fox. I know a decent amount about Naruto.
I had no idea about
Naruto.
this.
Yeah,
had we not done this stream, I would have never known that.
I know a decent amount about Naruto.
Yeah. Oh, Kakashi, dude, he's one of the most.
Badass.
They explore
Kakashi's
him a lot.
Badass, dude. Yeah. I remember the one manga that I read where he was facing Sasuke's brother Itachi, because the whole thing is I remember because he had the Sharingan, and I actually remember the background issue that I read where he actually got the Sharingan from like his best friend that he trained with that was killed, who gave him his Sharingan, and he actually used it in the fight against Itachi, and that's when he's got the one blindfold over his eye, and I'm like, this is badass. I know I'm reading this, but this is badass.
Yeah, no, 100%, man. You know,
yes,
I'll tell you this much. He does, yeah, Joe. I'm just as surprised. Dude, Joe, you got to come on a podcast soon. You're right. I would love to have you back on the show, man. So I know Joe doesn't know this, and I'll repeat it only because I haven't really kept in touch. First off, I've been so busy this summer, like with going back to school and all that, and doing the podcast. But also, like, I haven't really been able to chill with people because, like, someone in my household is like pretty at risk to the corona. There's like someone has an autoimmune disease, but we're kind of like getting safer as we get used to the practices. So I'm hoping to be around more, Joe. Hopefully we can hang soon. Yes, but I wanted to address this, because I hope that to ask you to watch Naruto is like such a tall order, and I would never make you do that.
That's a tall order. And like that anime, I know that like there's some anime, like I know Death Note is only 2 seasons, but that Naruto, I've looked at him like, I'm like, I know the Pokemon released a lot of episodes, but Naruto released how many episodes?
Yeah.
What?
It's not quite One Piece, which is like that's the running joke of One Piece.
Yeah,
It never
is
ended,
that
but it did.
never ends.
But they explore Kakashi. Like Kakashi was already main cast in the original Naruto, but like
Right.
he got bumped up a few lines in the call sheet in Shippuden, and you even get to explore him even more.
Okay.
What's a low key amazing character?
Might be my favorite character. Low key. I remember there was this one. You know what? Who's the fat kid that like
Choji.
What? Choji, yeah. Because I remember there was
Yeah.
one issue that I was reading when Naruto was first tried to go out to look for Sasuke after he left, and I think it was before their fight. He went with Choji and a couple other guys, and I remember there was this one issue because Choji kind of knew that he was like kind of the loser of the group, and he had like this one face off against these guys, and he like had to stand his own ground. And I just remember that being like, I'm like, okay, this is a cool moment. This is
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you remember Shikamaru?
The odds.
Do you remember Shikamaru at all?
Yes, I do remember Shikamaru.
Yeah. Would you consider him low key?
What's that?
Would you consider him low key? I feel like he's like fringe low key.
I mean, I feel like yes, he's like the most normal of the crew, right? Unless I'm getting him mixed up with another character.
He's the one who does like that shadow possession jutsu where he casts, and if he has the shadow, he like controls your movement and he like holds you in place as he does it. He actually glows up a lot in Shippuden, so he kind of becomes main cast, I would say. But I guess in Naruto, he's my favorite. But you know what? Okay, sorry, I can pick a more low key pick. Dom, you say something real quick. I gotta find this guy's name again.
I was just saying that like I think I was getting Shikamaru confused with Orochimaru. Like that, just like the image of Orochimaru just gets like stuck in my head from when I was reading the manga.
Yeah, Orochimaru is the big bad. And you read the manga. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I read the manga.
Cool.
Dude, I've watched like maybe one episode of the show in my life entirely, but I read a majority of the manga, like a lot.
Okay, that's so interesting.
I think I read the manga up to. So here's the thing: I read up to the first time that Naruto went looking for Sasuke, and then I dropped a few. Yeah. I missed the whole Orochimaru thing. Then I read the fight the fight between Naruto and Sasuke. Then I read after that, like when Naruto was approached by Jiraiya to train with him. Then when Naruto comes back and reunites with Sakura and Kakashi, where they actually are able to take the bells, which is a throwback to their first training exercise with them in the first issue.
Wow.
And after that was when I stopped. But
can I tell you this? The one weird thing about especially Shonen Jump manga, they read exactly like they watch, and they watch exactly like they read. It's really weird.
I basically got the gist of the show then from reading it. Okay.
Exactly. And my favorite character is this guy right here. Does he ring a bell, Dom?
Hold on. Can you play the clip?
No clip. I'm just sorry, I suck at this.
Is it a soundbite?
This guy right here. Shino? You remember Shino?
Yep, I know Shino.
Yeah.
That's it. The problem is that I don't necessarily remember all the other supporting characters' names, but like if you show me the image, I'm like, oh, glasses guy. Oh, guy with the ponytail. Oh, the blind guy, the blind girl.
This is so funny. I never thought you'd be able to speak this.
I know my Naruto. It's funny. I gotta go back because it's been a while, but yeah, when I was 10, I'm like, yeah, I know Naruto.
I was gonna ask, how old were you?
10 years
old. What about it? Because it just.
I don't know. I had the one friend who was like super into it, and I just remember I'm like, is this like I'm like, okay, so this is like a comic book, but it reads backwards. Okay, cool. I'll check this out. And I read it. I'm like, okay, this is pretty cool. This is pretty interesting, dude. I'm loving Joe's reactions. I love because if there's one person who's like more excited than you about the fact that like I know a decent amount of Naruto, it's Joe. I love that. He's like, he knows.
I'm genuinely surprised. Like, dude. For just this reason,
anime guy.
Just this reason is why I like this type of live show. I feel like I've learned so much about you tonight, Dom. Like honestly, honest to God, I didn't know so many things. We
haven't even gotten into it yet. We haven't even gotten to me what I'm hoping is like the coup de grace of the night. But
800 episodes, man.
Yeah,
wow,
man.
It's a lot.
Anime
goes deep.
Episodes.
Ron says, "What are y'all favorite animes that isn't DBZ and Naruto?" Okay, yeah, fair question there. I feel like you could also throw in One Piece into that, like count them out of the list type thing. Yeah. I have an easy answer, and it's whatever. Oh, Chris is a fucking hipster. He loves Chappie. Oh, whatever. Well, maybe I am, but maybe I just have good taste. Okay. Have you guys ever heard of a show called Your Lie in April?
Oh yeah, that one.
Dude, like. You know how like in some sort of like because it's drama. It's not a comedy. It is a drama. Okay. You know how like in some things like you cry like every now and then when it's like a sad sort of thing. But like in this situation, man, that just so anyone can see the artwork, because I think people need to know about this show. Every episode is a tearjerker, but it just keeps
You're
you coming back for
lying.
more, man.
Okay.
It's brilliant. It's about this pianist who kind of his mother was had a terminal illness, and this is all first episode stuff. It's not spoilers. And so she imparted on him the piano, and so he kind of like beats himself up to be the best piano player that he ever was, because he's so like upset that his mom would never get the chance to see him grow into like an amazing pianist, which he does become. That's like all in the first episode, and that's not the only tragedy he faces. And it's a very amazing coming of age story.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I have not watched that many anime. Obviously, like I said, I know Naruto from reading the manga, but again, I'm famously known as the guy who doesn't watch anime. I'm familiar with Death Note because of the live action movie. I mean, it's one of those things I've become familiar enough with because of just who I know and being in this sphere. So it's kind of one of those things that like I just get to know even if I don't necessarily watch. I don't know if kids anime watch. I've watched a decent amount of Pokemon when I was growing up, but I remember the big thing that I really liked growing up was Bakugan. I really dug that. I really dug that show. I watched the first 3 series of that where they did, because they did the first original series, and then they did the they went to the Bakugan's homeworld in the second series, and then the third series was Gundalian Invaders. I remember that. I watched all of those. But yeah, Bakugan was the shit. I loved those toys. Dude, I had so many Bakugan collectibles. Those were the shit. Those were my middle school years. That started back right there.
They look cool, man. They really do.
It's some dope designs. It's some
I watched it. I watched it for sure. It just wasn't I was a little older than you, so it didn't quite hit me. But I checked it out. I'm a nerd, so I checked it out.
You were like graduating high school when I was like just getting it. So
yeah, I checked it out, you know.
All right.
Yeah. Let's not get into our specific ages.
You're that cool guy. You know?
Shikamaru is Joe's. Yeah, of course, man. So I guess he would be considered low-key. So for me, it's like either Shino or Shikamaru. But honestly, that whole squad, the Shino, Shikamaru, and oh my god, I forget her name. I hate myself. Ino, the Ino squad. I love that squad.
That's Blind Guy and Blind Girl.
That, for all intents and purposes, that is like my first celebrity crush right there. That's how little I was like reading manga and yeah, Joe's hype, dude. Dom, let's go. He's hyped. I love it. Sword Art Online. Dom, I would love for one day if there's one anime that you watch, only because it does such a good job of tackling the materialism and the addiction associated with video gaming, in my opinion.
Okay.
Sword Art Online, dude.
Okay.
They get plugged into this matrix.
That's asking me to relate to anything video game like is tricky. Because again, I'm not a gamer by nature, so
and I know that.
Yeah.
But here's why: because I feel like you, at the outside looking in, may feel similarly to the creators in the sense where they're like, I don't get it. Why is everyone so okay with sitting down for hours in front of a screen? Right. You know?
Yeah.
I'd be curious.
The whole thing is, I will fully admit, it's only because I didn't grow up with it. Because the thing that I will say is that I love playing Pokemon. I'll admit that only comes from the fact that I grew up watching Pokemon. But like whenever I sit down, I watch Pokemon. But I'll go like months. I'll put it down one day and I'll just go months without playing it. You know? So like it's not necessarily, dude, I've binged however many shows. And if need be, I will sit and spend 24 hours a day watching TV. Trust me, I get where the addiction comes from. You don't need to explain it to me. My whole thing is to like, again, I just wasn't into it. It's a different form of media to me, even though I can understand where the addiction comes from.
Yeah, fair enough. You're right. And I figured you were going to say that when I posed that to you. Yeah. But I just think Sword Art Online explores it in an interesting way that I would love to see a non-gamer's reaction to it. And quite honestly, you're the only non-gamer I know.
Yeah,
so
I get that. Yeah, so Chris, I actually wanted to, again, as much as I do love the anime conversation, and I'm really glad that we went there, I actually did want to bring up something that we did talk about that we wanted to bring up, which is stuff that we've watched recently on this live stream, because I've been watching, just like, again, we're avid consumers of content. We're consuming stuff both for the podcast and on our own. As I've said, I've been doing a little bit of a Christopher Nolan binge, but Chris, I know that you mentioned something specifically that you wanted to bring up, certain things on Netflix that you were watching, one of your new shows from a certain stand-up comedian that you really admire on Netflix, but I can tell you right off the bat that I have finally, a little bit behind the 8 ball, but have finally gotten back into the Umbrella Academy, which, it's funny because I watched the first episode of that show when it first debuted a year ago, and I was like, this looks fine, but like I can't really get into it. I'm like, sure, the subject matter is weird, but the characterization. The problem is at the time I was still really into my like anti-Netflix agenda, which I still very much am in. And it's funny because I'm in the second season now, and it's starting to remind me a little bit of why I don't like Netflix, because all of their stuff feels exactly the same. I'm like, I could pick out like every single moment or action or character or line that I've seen like 17 other Netflix things. Like, that's how bad their algorithm gets as far as how predictable it is. But the thing that I like about it is that it kind of embraces the weirdness of the comic book storytelling genre that, to me, a lot of other Netflix shows were almost afraid to do beforehand. You know, like, I feel like it's taking the risks that I wish the Marvel shows had taken. And I think that's where the appeal comes from. Also, the fact that, like, the characters do legitimately feel like a family. They don't just feel like typical Netflix sitcom-y characters. They do actually feel like a family. And I appreciate that Netflix does go out of its way to show like the different facets and characters and weirdness associated with it. So yeah, Umbrella Academy has just been like kind of my casual watch that I've been. I'm 3 episodes into season 2 right now, and I like it for the most part. I can't believe I'm saying this, but Robert Sheehan, who for the last 2 years was like my most hated actor, like every time I saw that guy in something, I was like, oh my God, just why am I watching this? Is my favorite character performance on this show as Klaus. He is the funniest character. He's got the most personality. He's my favorite character on this show.
Would you would you recommend it to me?
Yeah, I would. I think that there is something, even though just for the simple fact of I would like to hear your thoughts on it.
Would you say that I should get it done for our like top 10 TV shows of the year episode? Or is it like not like that?
Yeah, honestly, no, I would. Oh, but just for the simple fact of there is, again, not that much content. So I'm just trying to get as much content as it. I don't know if it's going to make my top 10 favorite shows of the year, because again, I still have to finish this current season. Because remember, I don't count the whole show when I'm talking about top 10 TV shows of the year. I'm talking only the season that came out in the year that we're talking about. So like when we're talking about the Umbrella Academy, we're not talking about season 1. We're talking exclusively about season 2. But yeah, just for like to have something to consider for it. And also because, again, we have a severe lack of content overall for those lists once we get to them.
Yeah, I hear that. But if this was like any normal year, would you recommend me watch this? Or is this just because it's filling a gap of quarantine?
Really can't answer that. I really can't answer that because I could say yes, I only watched this because of quarantine, but I could also say I may have gotten into this regardless of whether there was quarantine or not.
Okay. Is it a bit deconstructionist like we enjoy, or?
Yes and no. It is deconstructionist at points, but it also does fill in a lot of those comic cliches that we've seen before. It's not quite like The Boys, but it does have to me, I almost consider it like the anti-X-Men, where it's almost like, what if the X-Men were kind of realistic? And what if Professor X were like an asshole who just like wanted to exploit them for the purposes of like being famous and only really viewed them as like experiments, not actual people? I don't think they explore that element enough, but it's present enough that it sets it apart from the rest of the crowd.
I actually would prefer it not to be an X-Men clone. And
it's not at all.
Because that's what my fear was by the advertising and stuff.
It's not.
Okay. Joe says 100% watch it too. So
yeah,
I trust you guys. I'll check it out. I will. Yeah, there was 2 shows I wanted to bring up today. If that's all right. 2 shows that I actually rewatched this past week because
There's
for once
why I have them on the list.
We didn't have to binge anything, We kind of just got to chill and relax kind of. It was a nice little week, work on the studio and all that. So for me, there's a brilliant creator who I love. I'm about to watch his show Extras because it just hit Netflix and it's like a bit of a throwback for him, and I'm excited.
Extras on Netflix?
Yeah.
How?
I'm excited.
It's HBO.
It's on Netflix, man.
Dude.
Yeah, it's on Netflix. I'm excited to see it. I would love to
know how, because Warner Brothers and HBO doesn't let any of their shit go on Netflix.
Yeah, but for me, a show that I am absolutely in love with, man, is Afterlife by Ricky Gervais. Now, forewarning, it is sad, okay? It is very sad, but it is as sad as it is funny. It is a dark satirical comedy. Just like kind of, and I want to know what his intent was writing this. I know what it's trying to say. It's trying to say that no matter how bad things get for you, there's always some good you can put in the world, and there's always someone who has it worse, which is like cool. I kind of think we need that kind of message, especially like in 2020. So I appreciate it for all those things, but at its core, man, Ricky Gervais is showing that he is an actor. He is not just a comedian writer. He is an actor in this show. His range in this show, that's why I think I watch it. Supporting cast is great. They're awesome. I love them. I don't know them. I'm not too familiar to English TV, but they have a bunch of credits to their name, and I'm sure there's a few hits in there. I watched this for Ricky Gervais, kind of like showing a different side to his acting, writing, and directing all at once, dude. This is his pet project. This is his passion project right here. It is a heartbreaker. At the same episode, I almost want to cry as I'm laughing out loud. And look, I watch a lot of comedy. I don't laugh out loud often. I enjoy it. I think it's funny. I sit there and I maybe snicker or chuckle. But to legitimately laugh out loud is a tall order for me. So, yeah. Dom, are you going to watch this? I think you should.
At some point, yes, I would like to. It's funny. I don't think I've watched a single Ricky Gervais thing. I'm sure I would love it. Like, I've heard great things about Extras. I've heard great things about Derek. This is the most recent thing of his that I've heard that is just like great. And look, all I know is that everything that I've seen from him is great. I loved his stand-up special that he put out last year. His opening monologue at the Golden Globes. We talked about that to cap off in order to kick off the year. That's one of the greatest things I've seen on live television just in general. I'm like, dude, to quote you exactly, because this is what you told me after the morning after when I was driving back from New Jersey to the friend's house that I went to in order to watch it. You literally said to me, Ricky Gervais just said everything that we have been saying for months about these celebrities. And I'm like, yep, pretty much. And it was that's one of the greatest opening monologues I've ever heard. It's amazing.
Yeah, I agree. I couldn't agree more, actually. Joe says, anyone watching Dark? I watched the first. Elliot has, yeah. I watched the first 6 episodes, and if you want like someone who has a cool opinion on it, Joe, go check out our buddy Movie Files at Movie Files on YouTube. He actually covered that show week to week, which is pretty dope. I watched the first 6 episodes, and I'm not gonna lie to you, it was a lot to read and watch at the same time. And then we got busy doing this channel and really growing it on YouTube, so I kind of lost touch with it. But I remember really liking it. I got to get back to it. Why? What do you think about it, Joe? What's your take on it? You seen anything about it, Dom, or no?
I've been hearing a lot of people, specifically within our circles, that have talked about this show. I have not watched it. The only thing that I've heard about it is that it's German and it's supernatural. That's the only thing that I've heard about it. I know literally nothing about that show, which, from what I've heard, is the way to go into it. So, at the very least, I'm like, okay, if I ever do go into it, I know for a fact that, like, I won't be spoiled about it. So, hopefully that'll, like, increase my chances of, like, really, really enjoying it. Hopefully it doesn't turn out like a majority of the other Netflix content that I've watched.
Yeah, for me, it's like better Stranger Things. And I only saw 6 episodes, and you know how I feel about Stranger Things. So for me to say that is, I just haven't, I don't know, it was tough. It was just like hard to read and watch at the same time.
Yeah, definitely.
There was one other thing I wanted to kind of speak about. It's my #1 show of the year so far, and I haven't ever said this to you, Dom.
Last year?
What, Dark?
No, what you're about to talk about.
No, I'm talking about something completely different, dude. Well, what are you about to talk about?
I thought you were talking about Middleditch and Schwartz.
Oh, Middleditch and Schwartz is really fun. That was this year. It came out this year.
It was this year. Okay, I wanted to make sure.
Yeah, that's like, I don't really consider that a show though. That's like a stand-up special that was cut into 3 parts.
That's what I figured.
Check that out, guys. Thomas Middleditch of Silicon Valley fame, Ben Schwartz of Parks and Recreation fame. And obviously they both have other credits, but that's where I come at them from. They did an improv comedy 3-part special. Would you call it 3-part special? 3 episodes.
I only
like
saw
an hour
one
long.
advertisement for it. I didn't realize that it was parts. I thought it was just one big thing.
Yeah, there's like 3 episodes. It's phenomenal what they're able to come up with on the spot. The plot lines that they write on the spot. It's very impressive. If anything, it's very impressive, but it also was like laugh out loud funny because it's like these guys are crazy. And they're just having fun being them. I enjoy watching people be themselves in such an honest way, even when they're playing a part, like Ricky Gervais in Afterlife. But I think what pulls me in about it is you can tell it's genuine, and even if it's not, they're doing such a good job making you feel like it comes from the heart that like he could have just said, I wrote that show for money. I wouldn't even believe him because it's that believable. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
So.
But that's not what you were talking about?
No, I wanted to save this because I knew this was our first event, and this is a show that I wanted to bring some light to for a while now.
All right.
This show is super niche. No one spoke about it when it came out.
Oh, I
It
bet it
has
was fucking
100%
amazing.
on Rotten Tomatoes, which is crazy for whatever that's worth. It's an English show written by the comedian Mae Martin called
Oh,
Feel Good.
I have not heard of this.
It's brilliant, man. I've watched it twice so far this year. It's a quick 6 episodes. It's a dry English comedy. Lisa Kudrow's the big guest star in it. She plays the mother to Mae Martin's character, and
Okay.
it's just like a love story, man. It's awesome, dude. It's like such a good love story. There's laughs, there's cries, there's the conflicts are so human and so real. This show feels like reality TV in the sense that you're like, I'm glad that these are just actors because if I was actually learning this much about someone's life, I'd be very uncomfortable right now.
Yeah.
Just
This is
good
why
writing.
this is why British TV is the best. And I just looked. One of the actresses in there is actually in Umbrella Academy season 2. So funny you mentioned that.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Small world.
Well,
I-
very small world.
it potentially might be my number one show of this year.
All right, I'm gonna be interested. Like I said, this top 10 list for top 10 best TV shows. I look forward to them much more so than our top 10 movies because it's just that there's a reason why you're the TV nerd, not the movie nerd, because it's just that much more of a chance for variety as far as that goes. And that's what I like.
And can I tell you real quick? I know we're kind of like starting to wind down the live stream and all that, but can I tell you why I was like excited for this show?
Yes, please do.
There is a Netflix original series called Crashing, which is a
Yes.
6 episode original series, which I love, which is one of my favorite like English comedies. And it's the same team behind that show, did this
Okay.
show. And this show's getting a season 2, thank God. And it's just so good, man. So that's what brought me to this. You're familiar with Crashing?
It's fun. Well, when you say Crashing, I think of a different thing. I'm thinking of the Pete Holmes show that's on HBO, so not
Yeah.
the Netflix one.
Yeah. Well, dude, I'm into these like this like little niche hipsterish kind of like corner of Netflix. Yeah.
Right.
But Dom, I mean, unless you have anything
the last
else,
thing that I wanted to bring up,
let's do
the
it.
very, very last thing is, so as you guys know, the last big thing that I did on Movie Nerd Reviews was, which Chris was actually there for, was the Morgan J. Freeman Awards, which were our initial, which were our final nominations, basically our version of the Oscars. Basically, as you guys saw, I did my version of the Talkin TVs, which was my first official TV award ceremony. I had a lot of fun doing that. I hope that you guys had a lot of fun watching that. And so it's funny because last year, actually earlier this time, around July, a month before, I gathered up with the guys that I do the Morgan J. Freeman Awards with. They're guys that exist kind of outside this whole Talkin TV circle. At one point, I might bring them in, depending on if they're comfortable with it, in order to do our halfway through the year nominations based on all the movies that we had seen halfway through the year and kind of give a shout out. And then, so that's kind of what I wanted to do because I still haven't been doing them even throughout the year with movies. That's kind of what I wanted to do with this. Oh my God, I love that freeze frame that you froze it on just for the face and the Hollywood side that I was holding. I love that. Oh my
Watch
God.
YouTube try and flag us for showing our own
man.
channel.
Dude, oh, that'd be so great. That'd be perfect right there. So I just wanted to run through my nominations that I came up with real quick for the year so far. So these are, as of right now, my personal nominations for the year of 2020.
Okay.
I hope you enjoy. I'm going to run through them real quick. So
Take your time. I'm
for
excited.
best movie ending, my 5 nominations are The Lodge, Da 5 Bloods, Bad Education, The King of Staten Island, and number 1 is The Invisible Man. For best ensemble cast, the nominations are Bad Education, Birds of Prey, The Gentleman, The King of Staten Island, and Da 5 Bloods. Best visual effects, Guns Akimbo, The Invisible Man, Color Out of Space, and Project Power. Best sound, Guns Akimbo, Color Out of Space, The Lodge, Da 5 Bloods, and The Invisible Man. Best production design, Birds of Prey, Big Time Adolescence, Da 5 Bloods, The Lodge. Best costume design, Guns Akimbo, Birds of Prey, Da 5 Bloods. Again, you're going to hear a lot of repetition because they're really hard. I'm doing this out of 25 movies. I usually have about like a pool of like 40 to 45 movies by this point in the year.
I feel like this is how you feel about Hollywood this year. Hollywood? Who cares?
You just have to make that like the screenshot of our channel now. To just make that like the banner for the YouTube channel is me with that face holding the sign. It's
Noted.
Great. Best hair and makeup, Bad Education, Guns Akimbo, Da 5 Bloods, Birds of Prey. Best editing, Guns Akimbo, The Lodge, Da 5 Bloods. Best cinematography, this is where we actually get into some names. Lyle Vincent for Bad Education. Thimios Bakatakis, I love that name, for The Lodge. Robert Elswit for The King of Staten Island. Fun fact, the guy who shot There Will Be Blood shot The King of Staten Island. That's awesome. Stefan Duccio for The Invisible Man, and Newton Thomas Sigel for Da 5 Bloods. Best Original Score, Jim Williams for Possessor, Colin Stetson for Colorado Space, Michael Abels for Bad Education, Terrence Blanchard for Defy Bloods, Benjamin Wallfish for The Invisible Man. Best Soundtrack, Birds of Prey, Project Power, Palm Springs, The King of Staten Island, Defy Bloods. Best Adapted Screenplay, only two, Lee Winnell for The Invisible Man and Mike Mikowski for Bad Education. Best Original Screenplay, Mattson Tomlin for Project Power, Spike Lee, Kevin Wilmot, Danny Bilson, and Paul DeMeo for Defy Bloods, Jason Orley for Big Time Adolescents, Andy Sierra for Palm Springs, Judd Apatow, Pete Davidson, and David Sears for The King of Staten Island. Best Director, Jason Lee Howden for Guns Akimbo, Lee Winnell for The Invisible Man, Spike Lee for Defy Bloods, Judd Apatow for The King of Staten Island, and Corey Finley for Bad Education. And this is a fun little category that we have, which is for effing terrible performance. That's a thing that was started a couple of years ago on a different award ceremony back in 2011, 2012. For anyone who wants to know, check out the original NYFF Awards for more information on that. My 5 nominations are Ferdia Shaw for Artemis Fowl, Michael Pena, Austin Stowell, and Lucy Island for one of the best and only theater-going experiences we had this year for Fantasy Island. And number 1 is Tom Hardy for Capone. Oh my God, that movie. That's a movie you have to watch in order to believe that it exists.
Okay.
Oh my God.
Tom, can I just say that it's like we can't even be mad at you for having all the same movies pop up, aside from the worst. Yeah, I know.
Of 27 movies to pick from.
I know.
27 movies to pick from.
Like
that's
we're
all
in late August now, mid-August now.
And
also,
the fact
hey,
that I have this many nominations for this many categories is kind of amazing. And I haven't even gotten to the acting categories yet, which is like the thing that everybody pays attention to. Like nobody usually cares about like the technical.
Before we get into that, we had a few people in the chat join. So in the spirit of tonight, right? This is the community night. I want to say, what up, Voltrix? I don't think we've seen you before.
Yeah, I think you're new.
Thank you for being here. If you're here, we all we ask is that you drop us a subscribe and hang out with us again.
It means a lot.
Thanks for being here.
Yes, and we have another familiar face in the chat, Ken. Happy to have you here, dude.
Ken, we're coming for that title,
dude.
We are coming for that title.
I was this close. I was this freaking close to having Sopranos actually beat Breaking Bad. I called for a recount and almost got it in, but
you may have the title for now. You may have the title for now, but that is not its permanent resting place.
Not for long.
Not at all.
Not at all. You cheated by picking all the best shows and ensuring your victory, but that's not going to happen next time. That's what we're
I'm
going
sorry,
with.
Tom. Keep going, buddy.
But also, real quick, to answer this question before you put it up in the chat, favorite TV show pre-90s? What TV shows pre-90s? I'm pretty sure there were only 2. There was like Twilight Zone and MASH and Cheers, and that was it. Those are the only ones we're talking about pre-90s. But
I like Miami Vice. I've seen a few episodes.
But you know what? I'm being too harsh. I Love Lucy. I like Little Rascals. I like
I got
Gang. I like Addams Family. I like The Munsters.
The Honeymooners
all those shows
for me.
that I watched with my grandpa.
The Honeymooners every New Year's Eve or every New Year's Day. Oh, dude, they do a marathon on New Year's Day, and it's like a family tradition of mine. And so every New Year's Day, I watch The Honeymooners, and I love that show. Ralph Cramden is the man.
Is that the Jackie Gleason character?
Yes, Jackie Gleason, dude. Yeah, we have big Jackie Gleason household. But anyways, Dom, your nominations, yeah?
All right, so the nominations. So now we're into the main acting category. So the other fun thing about our category is that we split up drama, comedy, and dramatic performances. So here's them. So I'll do the 4 comedy categories before I do the drama category. So for supporting actress comedy, my 5 picks are Sydney Sweeney for Big Time Adolescents, Hilary Swank for The Hunt, Michelle Dockery for The Gentleman, Marissa Tomei for The King of Staten Island, and Belle Powley for The King of Staten Island. Supporting actor comedy, Ewan McGregor for Birds of Prey, Colin Farrell and Hugh Grant for The Gentleman, and Steve Buscemi and Bill Burr for The King of Staten Island. For actress comedy, Betty Gilpin for The Hunt, Kristen Melody for Palm Springs, and Margot Robbie for Birds of Prey. And for actor comedy, Martin Lawrence for Bad Boys for Life, Daniel Radcliffe for Guns Akimbo, Griffin Gluck for Big Time Adolescents, Andy Samberg for Palm Springs, and number 1, no shock, Pete Davidson for The King of Staten Island. For the drama categories, supporting actress drama, not that many. I only had 2, Alison Brie for The Rental and Allison Janney for Bad Education. For supporting actor drama, even though I hated this movie, this guy still was good. Shia LaBeouf for The Tax Collector, Joseph Gordon-Levitt for Project Power, and then I have Chadwick Boseman, Clark Peters, and Delroy Lindo for Defy Bloods. Actress drama, this one's actually pretty interesting. I have Alison Brie for Horse Girl, Riley Keough for The Lodge, Dominic Fishback for Project Power, Andrea Riceborough for Possessor, and Elizabeth Moss for The Invisible Man. And then for actor drama, my 5 are Nicolas Cage for Colorado Space, Christopher Abbott for Possessor, Jamie Foxx for Project Power, Ben Affleck for The Way Back, and number 1, Hugh Jackman for Bad Education.
Okay. You're making do with what we have.
Yeah, I really
And
am.
look,
I really
just,
freaking am.
but also I want to say that like even though Bad Education wasn't for me, I recognize that on any year it would have been a top contender movie. I also think you could say the same for King of Staten Island.
Yeah. That's still my favorite movie of the year. So
yeah, I also think you could say the same for Invisible Man. So it's not like we haven't had any good movies this year.
Right.
It's just that like we've had a lot of bad ones too, like
hey,
Lovebirds.
I'm still banking. I'm still banking on the fact that she's
Yeah.
got literally no competition that Elizabeth Moss is gonna win that Best Actress Oscar. That would be amazing on so many different levels if that actually happened.
I mean, hey, look, I hope that if that does happen, it doesn't go down in history as, oh, well, that just happened because it was 2020 and there wasn't a lot of good movies, because that was genuinely a good performance.
But you know,
I just hate
that
because it was in a because it was in a horror film, right? Because the horror thing, like, okay,
right,
guys, like, Jesus, that annoys me.
Horror,
we'll save it for October, which, Dom, you can announce it. Go ahead and announce it.
So, yeah, I'm going to announce it. People.
And Ken, if you're listening, we want you to be a part of this, bud.
Yes, seriously. We are doing our
I'm sorry, Dom. I'm sorry.
Official. What do we even want to call this? We don't really have a
Shocktober.
Shocktober.
Halloween Horror Fest.
Our first official Shocktober Halloween Fest. People, we have 5 weekends in October, and every single weekend we are going to be on a different channel watching a different movie hosted by a different guy, depending on the genre. We have a certain genre of horror picked for the weekend, and based on whoever's hosting it that weekend, we are going to be watching a movie.
Yes.
And so if you're a fan of cult slashers, maybe tune into one channel. They will all be announced as time goes on, but we know for a fact that we have Elliot. We have, did David commit to it? I don't remember actually who committed.
David is a part of it. This is a very premature announcement, guys.
Yeah, Elliot has committed to it. David has committed to it. Jaron, I believe, really wants to be in on it. Alex and Ken, we're waiting to hear back from them. And the only thing I know for certain as of right now is that at the end of the month, on Halloween night itself, we are going to be watching the original Halloween. That's right. To me, one of the most overrated horror movies ever made, but the movie that inspired my absolute least favorite subgenre of film ever created, the slasher genre. But people, it's a cult classic for a reason. And so on Halloween night this year, October 2020, we will be watching Halloween. Chris, are you going to be dressed up? Because I'm going to be dressed up. So I'm going to say is
I'm dressing up.
Be dressed up.
I'm getting a costume. And if you're going to be a part of the panel, you better be in costume.
Yeah, you better be in costume. Well,
oh, not every
dressed up for everyone, just for the Halloween,
just the Halloween one
panel. Yeah.
Yeah, we should coordinate our costumes, Dom.
Okay, well then that's
that'd be cool
because I had a specific idea.
That's an off-air topic. Okay, you'll tell me off-air. We can't spoil it too much.
I'll tell you off-air. I don't want to spoil that off-air.
And there'll be a more formal announcement coming soon.
Yes,
but so while we wrap this up here, Ken,
keep tuned for that.
We'll get to Ken's last few comments real quick, because I don't think it'd be fair for us to talk that amount of smack we just talked to him and not let his voice be heard before we get out of here. So, yeah, Ken was like, you guys were awesome on the show. He's too nice. It's hard to talk smack to nice people.
Yeah. Stop making it so hard for us to talk smack. Talk some smack back.
Dude, stop being so nice. Yeah, we truly better in every argument you presented. No, you guys are great too. Stop, man. We're trying to talk smack. Okay, but in the spirit of competition. Okay. All right. We will rise to that occasion.
Text us when you want us on the next competition, dude. We'll bring it. Dude, I put up shows that nobody else would have. And even though a lot of them got knocked in the first round, they were up.
You got hurt.
I am forever holding a grudge against that comment section. For like I said, I'll deal with every other show of mine that got knocked when it did, but I'm forever holding a grudge against that comment section for knocking out Community as soon as I put it in. I'm like, oh, I consider that a personal blow. I consider that a personal blow for Community, the greatest sitcom ever made.
Yeah. Cool. So it looks like Ken's down. So with that being said, I want to thank Art, AJ, Luke, Joe, Certain Vids, Movie Files, Basic Entertainment, Ronald E. Smith, Mid-Level Reviews, to name a few, for hanging out tonight. Thank you guys. This was cool. This is the first of something new for us. This week was the first of something new. On Monday, we just put out my first.
It's going to be a lot of new stuff going forward.
Same with the old stuff mixed in too, though. But we want to keep it fresh for you guys, you know, because Elliot asked us the question about our 2 to 3 year plan, but hey, man, we're running for at least 12 seasons.
Yeah, 12 seasons and a short film, I think is what we're going to say.
12 seasons and a short film.
Since we're completely ripping off Community sponsor now. It's infected literally every fiber of our being. We're just going to make that our slogan. Hashtag 12 seasons and a short film.
Wow, that's
Screw you, Dan Harmon.
Stupid. That's so stupid.
I love it, though.
A season means a year, guys, just so you know.
Yes.
So, Dom, speaking of that, the year's coming to an end in a few months. Before we know it, it'll be here.
Somehow.
It's still summer right now.
A lot of people are saying that like they can't wait for this year to be over, but for me, I keep having to remind myself, I'm like, wow, this year's already almost over? Wow.
Yeah, I know. I
Crazy.
can't believe it.
2020.
Yeah.
What a year.
Well, Dom, it's been a good year for us.
Yeah, it's been a good year for us.
So.
Absolutely.
So wrapping this up, Dom, what do you got to, like, not leave the people with today, but like you're usually pretty good at, like, telling them things, man.
We got a lot of stuff looking forward to coming down the pipeline this coming Monday. All I know is that a certain HBO show finally got started, and we may have, hint, hint, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, a certain week-to-week recap of said HBO show coming up. We've got my Legend of Korra podcast episode coming out on Wednesday, featuring the one, the only Andrew Jemai, and this coming Friday, a week from today, also one very talked about and possibly overrated director. I'm finally doing a ranking of his list. That's right, people. I'm officially announcing it here. I was going to wait until the actual video came out, but I'm going to announce it here. The Christopher Nolan ranked list that is coming out a week from today will officially be the first installment in my director's ranked series. It's been something that I've been wanting to do for a while now, and I'm finally getting to do it. Every time a director, a big name director that I love, has a movie that comes out, I will be watching each and every one of their movies in order to rank and discuss them. I know David Fincher's got a new movie coming out this year. I know Jason Reitman's got a new movie coming out next year. We know Edgar Wright's next movie is coming out next year. People, there are so many directors that we love. There's so many big, famous directors. And all I can say is that I have finally achieved one of my lifelong goals, in that I've watched every single movie that Christopher Nolan has released. And
congrats,
all I know
friend.
is that if you guys are familiar with my Marvel rankings list, if you guys are familiar with just how I rank stuff in general, be ready for some hot takes, to say the least. And also, of course, you guys are awesome fans. Thank you for coming back over and over again. Leave a like, leave a comment, leave a subscribe. We would really appreciate it. We're almost to 100 subscribers. Be awesome if we could get there sooner rather than later. Chris, where can the good people find us on social media?
Well, the good people, and there are very good people, they can find us right below at Talkin TV Podcast. Talkin, spelled Talkin, no G. Dom. This was awesome, man. We tried something new.
Dude,
we came, we saw.
Happy. I love this.
I think I can say we conquered.
Everything that we do from now on to be like this, where we're just like super chill and casual.
We're gonna start working these into our routine, because this was a really fun time. Like, I never would have found out that you were a Naruto fan.
Yeah, man.
I learned so much about you tonight. Honestly, I learned a lot about you tonight.
Naruto fan, people.
And we've been friends for a while. Guys, turn on that bell so you can set a reminder and get pinged every time an episode comes live, because let's be honest, subscribers don't really mean that much, because YouTube is so inundated with content. Yep. So you need to turn on that bell to find us. Again, please subscribe, smash that like button, leave a comment, leave a like.
Smash that like button.
Smash it. And guys, from I think I can speak for the both of us when I say, from the bottom of our hearts, like, at least I personally was pretty nervous about tonight. We have never done this before. We've been taking a lot of risks on the channel lately. And it's hard to take risk when the channel's growing, and it's growing for the first time, really, I would say. And we're still a super small channel. So to talk about growth, I mean, my eyes are set on the stars. This is only the beginning, but the fact that you guys came tonight.
Stars backdrop too.
Hey.
See what you did there.
Yeah, man. It all comes full circle at the end. But the fact that you guys came out tonight, you hung out with us, and you gave us a reason to sit and casually just BS for an hour and 48 minutes is beyond me. So thank you guys. Yeah. So Dom, with that being said, do you have a message for the people here tonight?
Watch more fucking movies, people. We out.